saw him, how that feels, how, the welcome and the way that people have received us here. I truly do hope that for those of you that are here have felt really welcome, have felt warmly embraced. I know I have embraced some people here. Yeah? I'm saying this because a little while ago, we were all outside and under the sky together, and the dance group welcomed us. And if that welcome ceremony didn't tell you everything you need to know about this, I don't know what else would do. So that is AFLC for you. It's not just a conference that starts when people, someone taps their mic and says good morning. It's a conference that starts with us. It starts with the people of Africa. It starts with the people in the diaspora, with the culture, the community, the kind of energy you carry into a room with you. And now we are in that room. So welcome. I personally welcome you. And on behalf of AFLC, I also welcome. And can you also welcome? Please do. Yes. I will introduce myself to you, but I probably need a different welcoming. I'll tell you later, okay? So I just want to welcome you joyfully, wholeheartedly to the African Languages Conference 2026. So I want to talk a little bit about what AFLC is. And before I tell you my name, I think I should talk a little bit about the things that matter to AFLC. I want you to know that this is not just a conference about African languages. It is a conference that happens in African languages. It's not a conference about African languages. It's a conference that happens in African languages. And by Africans, for Africans, and for everyone in the world who understands that the knowledge and futures of all people cannot and will not be told in someone else's tongue. I know how it feels when somebody speaks your language. It feels warmer. You understand much more faster, and there is some sort of empathy there. So this is the 5th edition of this conference, and for the very first time, we are in Ghana, right here in the heart of Accra, the University of Ghana. It's a beautiful university. And this year's theme is Language Justice, African Languages for Social and Economic Development. Language Justice. Language Justice. 2 words that together carry the weight of everything that has been excluded, overlooked, and underestimated, and everything that is possible when we choose to change that. Over 1 billion Africans communicate primarily in indigenous languages. 1 billion, quite a lot. And yet those languages remain in the margins of education systems, digital platforms, economic policy, and public. That gap is not natural. It is a choice, and AFLC exists to help us make a difference, a different one. Today and tomorrow, you will hear presentations delivered in Akan, Twi, Ikosa, Kiswahili, Dagbani, and English. You will hear from linguists, educators, technologists, storytellers, and advocates. And you will be part of the conversation that is genuinely, unapologetically African. Okay, so this is where I get to talk a little bit about myself. Are you curious to know about me? Really? I feel honored. Okay, so my name is Rahman Sekela. Some of you have seen this. My name is Rahman Sekela. I come from Tanzania, the land of Kilimanjaro, and the Spice Island of Zanzibar. I work as a translator, but I also work in subtitling and dubbing, and it's mainly from English into Swahili. Somebody was asking, do you speak French? No, I don't speak French. Fortunately, unfortunately, it's all okay. And I've done this, the work that I've mentioned, translation, interpretation, dubbing, and subtitling, for more than a decade, and I really do love it. I've been part of the shift from guessing what is on screen to actually experiencing global stories in Kiswahili, and that's going to be part of my presentation tomorrow. My work sits at the intersection of language, media, and the creative economy, where African languages move from the margins to the center of global storytelling. It's a real honor to be your MC today, and I'm excited to learn, exchange ideas, and celebrate African languages with you all. And as a pure Mswahili that I am, I want to now welcome you and say, Karibuni sana. Thank you. Oh, so you know Asante sana? Okay, now you guys should just learn Swahili, okay? Okay, so let's move on with our, I've introduced myself. Okay. So I'll just be honest with you. When I walked in this morning, in this room with a lot of energy and maybe a little bit of nerves, and then that welcome ceremony happened, and I thought, you know what? We are going to be just fine. We are going to be just fine. All is well, okay? So I want to dive into a few things before we move on into the important, most interesting parts of our program today. And I promise these will be quick, but they matter. So please stay with me. First of all, we do provide interpretation in African languages. You can see this is the headset. So these gadgets will help you get the interpretation that you need in your preferred language. So like we've said, this is a multilingual conference by design, and we have simultaneous interpretation team working right now on site and in Zoom interpretation online. So if a session is delivered in an African language, interpretation into English is available. So channel 1 is for English, channel 2 is for any African language of your choice. So please make sure your receiver is set accordingly. And to our interpretation team, thank you. You're not in the background, you are the conference. Okay, I also want to talk a little bit about the restrooms. They are located to my left, which for some of you would be your right. So you will see it's written restroom, lady and gent. Please feel free to step up quietly between sessions. Drinking water is available at the back of the auditorium. We have a water dispenser, so please use your own water bottle or the disposable cups that are there. We're keeping it eco-friendly right here, yeah? So let's get back to phones. You are allowed to take pictures of me. I know, and I'm allowed to take pictures of you. But for now, let's just keep them in silent mode. We want to really listen and understand and hear what our distinguished guests have to say. So please, keep it in silent mode, or better yet, airplane mode. Okay, just get lost, okay? Not vibrate, silent. The person next to you, our interpretation team, and the thousands of people watching us online will all silently thank you for doing that. Speaking of which, I want to say that we are live on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. If you know someone, you should know, if someone you should know wants to be with us, reach out to them, let them know that AFLC has just started. The more area. I also want to talk a little bit about lunch. Right before the break, coupons will be shared with the delegates. Please wait for our ushers to guide you to the lunch venue at the pagodas. That's going to be my left or your right for some of you. And dignitaries and speakers will be served first, then all other delegates. And finally, at the back of this venue, can you all take a look at the back of this venue? Yeah. Yes, so at the back of this venue, you will find a book exhibition featuring literature in African languages and about African languages. They're going to do a setup, so you can be free and later on move and talk and read and buy. It is free. It's open to every delegate. Please visit the exhibition area during your breaks. The exhibitors will be there and they are wonderful. They have a lot of things for us. And please capture these moments when you have time. Take videos, take photos, share whatever that you're experiencing here. We want the world to know what is happening in this room today. Use the hashtag AFLC 2026 or AFLC I'm sorry. I'm reading this in abbreviation. It's AFL Conf. And tag us on our social media at AFLC Conf. So this is history in the making. Let's document it together. I know some of you have already taken pictures. I took them for you. I expect to see and I know where you guys work. I don't know where you live, but where you work, I know. So I'm expecting the people from Akalan. I'm expecting a lot of posts and videos. Some people have taken pictures, photos before we started. So you can post that and anything that is you think is worth sharing. Now, it's time to call the people that are behind all of this. I want to take a real moment here because what you are sitting inside today did not happen by accident, okay? This conference has been in the making since August of last year. 6 months of planning, partnerships, speaker coordination, logistics, and the kind of quiet determination you never see on stage, but that makes every stage possible, okay? It was built by two people who believed deeply and persistently that this conversation cannot wait. Please hold your applause until the very end. I want to name everyone properly. To the conference team who were here yesterday and the day before setting up every detail in this space, we see you and we are very grateful. To the live stream team, Kwame and his team, I'm sorry about that, for making sure that the thousands of people who could not be in Accra today are still in this room with us. You're bringing the world to us and us to the world. To our local organizing committee, we thank you for your knowledge, your hospitality, and for making Ghana the perfect home for AFLC 2026. To our hospitality and ushering team, thank you for making every delegate feel from the moment they arrived this morning. To our partners and sponsors, Silicon at Stanford University, African Language Consulting, and African Translation, your investment in this conference is an investment in language justice itself. And so I want to thank you for that. And to every volunteer who gave their time and energy to make this happen, we honor you now. Okay, so the two people at the center of it all. Since January 2020, carried this vision forward with extraordinary commitment. One of them is here with us in this room today. One of them is joining us live from across the world. And if that isn't a beautiful example of a conference that truly has no borders, I don't know what is. Please put your hands together for the co-founders and directors of the African Languages Conference. Joining us on stage, Adi Namaran Kulibal. And joining us live on Zoom, projected here, Avish. Please welcome. Karibu.
Asante sana. Greetings, everyone, and we are really happy to have all of you here. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow educators, language activists, friends, welcome to this edition of the African Languages Conference. The theme for this year is Language Justice, African Languages for Social and Economic Development. We believe that this theme actually captures the need to assess and promote the role of African languages in the development of our beautiful continent. So Ghana was chosen as host for the 5th edition of this conference for several reasons. Following the success of the first on-site edition that we had last year at the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria, we moved the conference to Ghana this year, and we believe that this represents a growth in the entire language movement. It allows AFLC to engage with a new set of grassroots activists, policymakers, and tech innovators. Apart from being the gateway to Africa, as we all know, also, Ghana is also the headquarters of the AFCFTA. This makes Ghana the ideal location to discuss the theme of this year's conference, which is Language Justice, African Languages for Social and Economic Development. It also gives us the opportunity to discuss how we can bridge between indigenous languages and formal sectors like trade and governance. We believe that the theme for this year is very timely. Over 1 billion Africans actually communicate primarily in their native languages, but these languages are excluded from some spheres of our environment, including education, governance, and economic development. This linguistic marginalization perpetuates inequality and limits access to opportunities across the continent. The African Languages Conference seems to address this critical gap by creating space for Africa's diverse voices. So the sub-themes that we are exploring for this year, we have language rights, where we are exploring African languages in government and public services. We are also looking at economic growth, where we are discussing how African languages create jobs and wealth. We are also looking at digital innovation, where we're discussing building technology in African languages. We are also discussing educational transformation, multilingual learning for all, and cultural economy, language as heritage and economic asset. So we have also some objectives for this year that we seek to achieve with the 5th edition of the African Languages Conference. We seek to support policy dialogue on integrating African languages into development plans. We also seek to help build partnerships among researchers, technologists, educators, and community leaders. We also want to document and share innovations where African languages help drive social and economic progress. We also seek to empower networks connecting decision makers across academia, technology, and development sectors. So once again, we are very excited to have all of you here. Thank you for your presence, and thank you also to our online audience joining us on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook. We are really glad to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adi. We are waiting for one of the other director, Avishta Siras. So please stay with us and be patient as we do that. It's very important for her to also speak. Here she is. Yes, let's hear her. Let's listen to her now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahma. Thank you so much. I'm hoping that people can hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I wasn't sure who would respond to me. Merci, Rahma. Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Avishta. Je suis née à l'île Maurice et en ce moment, je vis dans le Canada. I'll switch to English now, just so that I can translate a little bit. I just wanted to say hello in Creole, in Creole Mauritian. That's my mother tongue. I was saying that my name is Avishta Siras, and I was born in Mauritius, and I apologize for the interpreters who are probably freaking out and saying, I don't know what language this is. I'm prepared. I'm sorry. I just wanted to quickly introduce myself in my mother tongue, since this entire conversation that we're going to have over the next couple of days is about speaking in your mother tongue. So I was also saying that I was born in Mauritius, which many of you probably know where it is, but for the sake of our global audience who don't know, Mauritius is on the east coast of Africa. It's one of the small tropical islands in the Indian Ocean, which also is part of the continent of Africa. So anyway, I wanted to start by saying thank you to all of you for being there. I cannot actually see you right now, and I hope, I wish I was there with you at the moment. But I hope that you're all enjoying yourself already. I saw part of the Adowa dance. That was really cool. It was really fun. I hope that lots of you got to participate in that. So as I was seeing Addie, I was watching Addie on stage delivering her speech from my screen here from Canada. I'm actually in Canada at the moment. I thought that this was really surreal for me to be able to experience this, such wonderful moments all the way from Canada, from here, because that stage that she's standing on, and the room that you're all in, I built that together. We've been building that since January 22, which was also the first year that African Languages Week started. I'm starting to get a little bit emotional because it's a lot of years putting this together for us to get to this point where all of you can join us in Accra. And I think as year we were able to only our second edition in a hybrid format. Which is truly incredible accomplishment in 4 years, with basically just, two people working together. So if you don't know me, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Avishta Siras. I'm the co-founder together with Adi, the co-founder and the director of AFLC. And I'm also the director of another nonprofit organization called Cultura Connector, where my team and I design transformative programs for underrepresented communities. We focus a lot on building cultural initiatives, actually, to promote accurate cultural representation around the world. Everything I do when it comes to all the nonprofit organizations or the language projects that I'm focused on, everything I do is about this belief that language rights are human rights. This is the core belief that me and Addie also have been building AFLC over the last few years. Preserving linguistic and cultural heritage is not a niche cause. It is one of the most urgent acts of justice of our time. And this is, and AFLC is where that belief really took place, at least for me. So I'm joining all of you virtually, even though I tried really hard to be there in person this year, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But I think that this is also, there's something like quietly poetic about this moment, because if any of you here know about the story of AFLC, AFLC was actually born online in a virtual platform called audio platform called Clubhouse in 2022, where with voices from across the continent and the world converging around this shared belief that African languages matter. And so I would like to start there to kind of take you back. I know Adi already talked to you a little bit about AFLC and what we do, but I want to take you back to a little bit to the story of how we all got started. So back in January 2022, we didn't have a stage. There was no Accra, there was no hybrid format, there was no interpretation, no live streaming either. There were no cultural performance like the group that you just saw earlier today, and we didn't have 2,000 plus, almost 4,000 plus people in our online communities. It was just Addie and me, two women with a shared conviction and absolutely nothing but passion and stubbornness, to be honest, to make something happen for African languages on a global scale. So we didn't have a roadmap. We were just, and we definitely didn't have a budget. Addie and the company she represents, Bilingo, actually invested quite a bit of their resources at the very beginning of AFLC. And the belief that we had was create a multilingual space for people to be able to connect and share and talk in African languages, and also present and talk about African languages and in African languages. So together over the last 4 years, we've been building this platform, and completely pro bono for the last 4 years. And I'm happy to share, for some of you who don't know, we've actually grown a whole lot over the last 4 years from our first session with only about 700 people who attended to now we're looking into thousands of people who are part of the community. I just want to quickly mention as well, last year in the hybrid version, the first edition of the hybrid version at the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria, where 300 people came together. We had 38 sessions. We had 36 hours of conversations in more than 15 African languages, which was an amazing experience. Addie was there in person. She can tell you all about it if you can find her on the ground there. And now we are in Accra. We are in Ghana, the 5th edition of African Languages Conference, our second hybrid edition. And although I can't see you, I know there's quite a few of you in the room. And hopefully there's going to be a lot more people joining us online next days as well, because this is just the first day of the next of 5 days of conversations about and in African languages by African voices. So I want to take this moment to start saying our thank yous. So I'll start by saying that none of this, not a single moment of it, happens without people who go far more than they've ever been asked of. So I want to take the moment to honor as many people as I can remember, but I'm sure there's a lot more. I will start by saying a huge thank you to Addie Naman Coulibaly, who has been my partner in this vision of building AFLC since day one. 4 years of building this platform together. As I mentioned before, pro bono has been extremely stressful and challenging. But since last August, not last August, the one before that, in 2024, we finally became a registered nonprofit, which actually enabled us to take AFLC to a much larger, much more global, more international scale. So I just want to say a big thank you to Addie for all her hard work, for everything that she's put into AFLC to help us grow. To someone who is really special to me, but who without this conference, without him, this conference would not have happened because of all the digital assets. It's actually Gregorio Mesquita, who has been working extremely hard to bring this conference to you through his graphic design and web design work. He's been awake with me every single day, almost every single day over the last 6 weeks to put this event together, making sure that social media is run and everything is being done to bring this conference to you in Accra. So I wanted to say a big thank you to him, and he's been supporting us since 2023. I want to say another huge thank you to Nana. I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Boabeng. who joined us last year as an AFLC coordinator. And after her contract ended, she stayed on and still helped us out with the conference. She's been volunteering, she's behind the scene. I know she's done a lot for the conference, so thank you so much, Nana. To our conference team, you just met Rahma, and tomorrow you're going to meet Miriam, who's going to be the MC for the second day, and everybody who stayed up until super late last night setting up this wonderful hall you all are right now. Thank you all for your commitment and for staying up late to help put all this together. To our live stream team, thank you so much for making this accessible and for allowing me to be a part of this as well online. To the entire thank you so much. Addie is the one who has been communicating with you to put all of this amazing, to making this this conference accessible to our multilingual community out there. So thank you so much for your dedication to bringing access, multilingual access to to AFLC, our conference. To the local organizing committee, over the last couple of months, you've actually been helping us a lot with the on-site logistics. Thank you so much for that. To our translators, some of you may know that some of our application forms was actually translated in various African languages this year. So thank you to those translators. I'm saying it right now. I don't know how many of you have actually joined, but there were quite a few translators who have been helping us for the last few months to translate quite a bit of the written content for the conference. To the cultural performance, we actually have, you just experienced one. You're going to have another show coming up soon. Thank you so much for your commitment to language and cultural diversity to Ghana, and for being a part of the language justice movement together with AFLC. And of course, to our amazing speakers, none of this would be possible if you didn't contribute your talent, your time, your resources, your knowledge, your experience to AFLC. So this would not be possible without you either. Thank you so much for your time, and for those of you who traveled all the way to Accra from your home country, and a special extra thank you to you for making the trip. And now I'm going to move on to our wonderful partners and sponsors. I did not forget about you guys. I know some of you are in the room. So I just want to say a huge thank you and how grateful we are to, first of all, to the College of Languages Education, Ajamako, from the University of Education, Winneba, for their collaboration on this edition, and to helping us deepen the academic engagement with African languages in both education and research. All of you here are going to hear from them soon during the panel discussion today, and there's going to be another one tomorrow. To our wonderful sponsors, we are especially fortunate this year because so many of you have decided to join us in person in Accra. Thank you so much for being there in person. I'll start with Stanford University. Welcome back. You guys were our platinum sponsor last year, and you've returned this year as well. So thank you so much for your dedication to digital inclusion and to championing language rights and language justice as well for digitally disadvantaged languages. And to African language consultants, I believe I saw Genevieve in in the video earlier. Hi, Genevieve. Thank you so much for being our silver sponsor this year, and for reinforcing something we deeply believe in, which is that African-led language services are essential to the future that we are building. Thank you so much for being part of this edition and for being a part of the AFLC story. To African Translation, I believe you are also in the audience. Hi, Lu. Hi, Lu. Thank you so much for sponsoring us at the silver level as well, and for bringing 20 years of expertise and a reach of over 40 in service of African communities. Your work is a living example of what language justice looks like in practice. So thank you. And in closing, to every delegate, every person in the room, online, watching online as well in the world, you are not just, I'm sure you've seen our message so far. And I want to say again, just reiterate what Adi and Rahma have already said. You are not just, by being here right now with us, you're not just attending a conference. You are part of the language justice movement across Africa. So thank you so much, everyone, for making, everyone who have participated 6 months. Thank you so much for making this event possible. This is day one, and I hope that all of you here stay until 28th of February of African Languages Week. Again, welcome to African Languages Conference 2026. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That round of applause was very weak. Now I want us to do another one. And no, I'm not even happy about it. I'm going to punish you. I'm a carrot and apple person. What is it called? Carrot and stick, or apple and stick. Yeah, so I punish and I reward. I have some rewards, but I'll punish you in a good way. I want us to do a Swahili congratulations, Swahili thank you to the team. That is Adi and Avishta. I want to personally thank you for doing this. This has given so many of us a platform where we can really share our languages, and that is what truly language justice is about. Now that, the Swahili one. So it's hongera, you say, imara, wow, okay, hongera, which is congratulations, imara, wow, we all say it. Now let us do it well. Guys, do it well. I have gifts. You can talk to Adi. I carry a lot of gifts, yeah? So if you do it well, you might get something. Hongera, imara, wow, to the team and to you guys. So thank you so very much. Now we are on to our program. And I know a lot of people are still coming in, some into the auditorium, are joining us live on Zoom. I just want to reiterate a bit about the interpretation services. We do have them here on site. For those that are online, I would like to tell you that the English channel is, for English interpretation, you can go on to the to channel 1, and for French interpretation, go to channel 2, for those that are online. So please welcome, and welcome to anyone that is coming in. You are not late at all. So on to the rest of the program, and this is where the good stuff comes in. I want to welcome Professor, if I get it wrong, you will correct me. Okay, I want to welcome Professor Kwesi Adomako. Please welcome. Yes? Stand here. I want to say a lot of good things about you. There's quite a lot. It's very heavy. Too many words that I can say. You will forgive me. In the interest of time, I will say a little bit about him, and the rest, when we meet, when we go out, you to him. That's how you network. I don't want to tell the story of your life, do I? Okay, so Professor Kwesi Adomako is an associate professor of linguistics and Akan at the University of Education Winneba here in Ghana. His work focuses on Kwa languages, especially phonetics and phonology, with interest in language, culture, and media. He brings over 16 years of experience in higher education and language policy in Ghana. Welcome. Karibu sana. I'll be using Swahili. I hope by the end of the 2 days you will be speaking Swahili. Karibu sana. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you very much for the opportunity. I stand in the stead of the principal of College of Languages Education, who is also standing in the stead of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Education, Winneba. So I'm wearing a bigger shoe. we were very happy when around November we had a contact that we want to collaborate with us in the organization of this workshop, because that sits very well right in the center of the mandate of our college, which is to train teachers in teaching, documenting, and also researching in Ghanaian languages. And that also syncs very well with the strategic plan, the corporate strategic plan of the University of Education, Winneba, that also seeks to collaborate with both local and international organizations in promoting language education. So with this conglomeration of professionals from academia and also from the practitioners, we hope and wish that the two-day deliberation is going to cause us to rethink and also reassess our attitude towards the African languages. And we hope by the end of the we are going to have a lot of impact on the global, the African continent. On that note, we issue a very fruitful deliberation in the next 2 days, and our hope, the outcomes of the deliberation is first going to let us rethink policies on African languages, and also is going to cause us to change, have a revolution of our attitude towards African languages. And finally, is not going to also cause people to just listen, also going to cause us to redirect investment and support we give to African languages. We know without language, a proper development cannot take place. Any development that takes place with that language at the center of it becomes an infrastructural development. We are not looking for infrastructural development. We are looking for a personal development, holistic development. On that note, on behalf of the management of the College of Language Education, we welcome you to Ghana and wish you a very fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Asante sana.
Asante sana.
And I say karibu tena. So, Professor Kwesi, when you come to Dar es Salaam and you happen to go to a funeral maybe and you want to buy the coffin, the casket, we love to say thank you too much sometimes. So you go and buy and the seller will tell you, karibu tena, which is welcome again. Now somebody might beat someone because now you want another relative of mine to die. So Tanzanians say too much, asante sana, karibu tena. Asante sana is thank you, karibu tena is welcome again. But then when you go buy a coffin, you don't want a welcome again. Yeah. So that's us. Thank you, Professor, for keeping it short and in time with the time. And we will now... The entertainment is not over, guys. We still have very good things for you. From the dance troupe that welcomed us earlier with the Adoa dance, now they have another performance. They are preparing right now. In a few seconds, we should be able to enjoy. Okay, let's give them some time. I just wanted to remind people, anyone that is here and doesn't have this, if you're here and you don't have this and you need it, kindly look for a lady called Miriam. Oh, Miriam should be here. Please, Miriam, come. You should be in front so they can reach out to you really quick. Anyone here is missing the program book and that needs it? Yes. Dance troupe is ready. So I want you, if you want and you feel like dancing, please dance. I'd love to see some of your moves, especially if you are from Ghana. So let us, you will dance. Okay, I can give you a gift. You want the booklet. I'm sorry. But you know, you can get a booklet and still dance. So yes, let us please welcome the dance group. Wow. What a very energetic performance. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. They've really entertained us. I'm really happy. I'm learning so much and I am enjoying. So, without further ado, we are on to the next agenda on the list, and that is we need now to hear from our keynote speaker, he was already here, and I have already introduced him. It's Professor Kwesia Domako, and he will be presenting his, welcome, and he will do his presentation in Twi. So please, I'm giving you a few seconds in case you need interpretation to set up your equipment now. And the title of his presentation is called From Margins to Mainstream, the State and Future of Ghana's Indigenous Languages. Please welcome, Professor.
Yo, CP. Thank you very much. Me kasa no etifia sem ye peja kasa hodo mu. Ghana kasa hodo dwumedie eneyi ne wondache. Ti ahyase ye me kan se kasa enye okwana ye faso din kita ho keke. Na emom ye kwan titre a ye faso da ye na mamre ye nipasu abakosem ne akwana ye faso edanimde edi. Ekra esan danija inchirima. Wabibre ama hodo bebre so no kasa ewura on dada setenemu ama nipa aboa ama aboa nipa sorry ne won kitadie emu na ama wahu wiase mu nsem eyie na aboa won ama wakra won potemu enipa no eyie woman ahodo epimu etese Ghana no kasa hodo no ditintiman ewo won dada asetenemu enkitaunde mu adesua amamre ene ntoaso emu ye. Please do I pause for the please, are we getting the English interpretation? I should go ahead. Ghana hankwa kasa hodo a ebro edioson ene eka wo ha emu dodo na afri kwa ene mabia kasa kuo abusuakuo ni mu a emu biara da amamre abakosem ne akwan sronko a akasafo no faso de djuma edi sa kasa hodo emu inom na efri tete no ode edi djuma ahodo pi ewo amammuo adwadie enwomasua ne wonsummu ne nyuma ahodo nkaye no o na amanso nanso nhyehyɛ ne nipa ne neye ahodo epia agu nkyɛn sɛ eba Ghana mu enyumadie bi mu a profoka sɛ free nkwasom emu baaye no egu so edi tintiman sɛ ba nwomasua amammuo ne abɛfo nkitahodie akwanso emu ɛwɔ bra wayi kasa ahodo no ewo we ama anidie a anka yedema no eso atia etia free se ye dane eja awonto aso mu me ayahodo binom ne mwa esese yedema kasa hodo no mpuntuo no we na me kasa no ejina so ebejina so apensem Ghana kasa hodo dwumadie efri tete no enemre mu ne ne daache a medi mani behwe meaye ahodo miensa sa me ahodo miensan eya adesua dan mu efiefie mu ene asetena mu nnwuma ahodo emu yen hyase mfiri kasa no abakosem ansana abrofo ene ebedi nkita ho die no akiri no yen hwe ho asem aha na kasa ansana ebedi abrofo bedi enso no na Ghana kasa hodo agye nhini na yede ne kasa hodo ne di dwuma bebre ewo ye na asetena mu ifiri amammo ne adwadie mu ekọ ye na mamre ne yɛn danda asetena mu nkitahodie mu na ɛda yɛn nipasu sɛdeɛ ehunu wiase ɛfa ɛne yɛn nipa ɛdi ɛna ɛsan so ɛdi nnwuma pii ɛwɔ yɛn mpɔtam wɔ amammuo mu no na yɛn kasa hodoɔ ne di dwuma soronko ɛwɔ mpaninie ne ntotoeɛ mu ahemfo panifoɔ ne nananom ahemfo abɛdwakuo no ne nyinaa ɛde yɛn kasa hodoɔ no esi agyinaeɛ wɔde siesie ntawantawa ɛsaa de hwɛ mmara so die saa kasa hodoɔ no nyinaa wɔ nsɛmfua ne kasasua soronko a ɛhyehyɛ mu a ɛma nkitahodie ɛdi mu na ɛtumi ma obi so sesa n'adwene na ɛtumi ɛde siesie ntawantawa te sɛ deɛ ma na adwabɔ ase asɛnni ase ne yɛn ne afoforɔ nhyiamudie ase nyinaa no yɛde yɛn kasa hodoɔ no ɛdi dwuma a nsɛm ne nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛdedi dwuma no obiara anim na ne amammerɛ ne amanne dwumadie nso so ɛboa ma yɛn daadaa asetena mu ɛkɔ so ma obiara yɛn amammerɛ kwan so adesua nso na ne fapem gyina yɛn kasa hodoɔ no ɛso yɛn mpanifoɔ nam kasa no so kyerɛ yɛn abakɔsɛm anipa kuayɔ adwumasua ne asetena mu asodie ahodoɔ na yɛn kasa hodoɔ no di ntintima yie ɛwɔ yɛn adwadie ne ne ntotoeɛ mu na obi te afoforɔ kasa ɛyɛ adeɛ a na obi adeɛ a na ɛno ankasa ɛkɔ so ɛwɔ adwadie mu a na adwadifoɔ no esua afoforɔ kasa sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a obetumi ɛne wɔn adi nkitaho saa nkitahodie mu ɛnwoyɛ no ɛboa ma nkitahodie mapa kɔɔ so a na obi kasa ɛnnim mu nsene ɔfoforɔ ɛdeɛ firi mmerɛ aborɔfo no ɛbɛduru abibire mu atɔyɛ ɛfiri mfie 600 ɛnie ɛreba no ɔne nkuro ahodoɔ di nkitaho no saa nkitahodie mu ama aborɔfo no ɛde wɔn kasa no ɛba yɛn aman mu a kane no na ɔde ɛdi dwuma ɛwɔ mmea pɔte binom ɛte sɛ adwadie emu nneɛma atɔneɛ sɛdeɛ ɔde twerɛtwerɛ atɔneɛ no mu nsɛm ɛne ɔde kasa ahodoɔ no ɛredi nkitaho ɛwɔ aborɔfo atenaeɛ ne ɔnaba nkɛseɛ mu nko a ɛno nti ɛnyɛ nsunsuanso bɔne biara ɛwɔ adwumaso na Ghana kasa ahodoɔ no ɛredi anaa hia na ehia ɛwɔ ɔnasetena mu aborɔfo kasa ɛdi dwa ama foforɔ so nsɛm ka ne asɛmpatrɛ nko a saa berɛ no na dwuma na kasa ne ɛdi no mpo wɔ saa mmerɛ yi mu no na yɛdan kasa nkyerɛaseɛfoɔ a na yɛpɛ kwan bi anaasɛ yɛpɛ kwan bi so a yɛbɛtumi ne saa aborɔfo na yɛnto wɔn kasa no ɛdi nkitaho wɔ saa ɔbrɛ a asɛmpatrɛ bɛgyina ɛwɔ Ghana no aborɔfo kasa no ne titire ne borɔfo English borɔfo nso hyɛ aseɛ ɛbɛnya nhini nkoasombrɛ mu ɛne kasa binom emu mpagyaeɛ English aborɔfo ɛbɛdi Ghana Gold Coast so ɛpɛ ɛne nkasa ahodoɔ dwumadie sesaeɛ aborɔfo asodifoɔ yi ɛhyɛ aseɛ hyehyɛ mmara ma kasa no ebinom emu pagya ɛwɔ tumi ne animonyam mu ɛsene afoforɔ deɛ aborɔfo kasa bɛyɛ kasa ɛsene afoforɔ a no nana ɔde di dwuma ɛwɔ ɔman ntotoeɛ nwomasua ɛne yɛn daadaa adwumayɛ emu aborɔfo kasa bɛyɛ kɛseɛ a ɛkyerɛ tumidie amammuo emu nsɛm twerɛ asɛnniɛ mu aban mu nkrataasɛm nyinaa mu wei ma dodoɔ na ankasa ɛntumi amfo ho anhyɛ amammuo mu bio na aborɔfo a na wɔntinti berɛ kɔɔ n'anim no anoteɛ ɛwɔ aborɔfo kasa mu ɛbɛyɛ ahyɛnsodeɛ a ɛkyerɛ nyansa ne anibie wɔ berɛ a na ɔde kasa hodoɔ ɛredi dwuma ɛwɔ amammerɛ ne amanneɛ nkaeɛ no a na ɛmfa krakyesɛm ɛho nko a ɔfa sukuu so ɛma aborɔfo kasa ɛno ɛtintimi asodifoɔ sukuu no ɛne ne titire deɛ English aborɔfo teeɛ anaa ɔhwɛɛ so no ɔma aborɔfo kasa no ɛbɛdane kasa titire a ɔde kyerɛ adeɛ ne titire a ne titire firi sukuu kuro mu mfiti aseɛ sukuu kuro mu nkunimdie wɔ sukuru kromo no gyina abrɔfo kasa ne tie nso paa na sɛ wopɛ sɛ wokɔ anim wɔ adesua na udi yie etu mpɔn a gye sɛ wakɔ adare wɔ abrɔfo kasa no enti abrɔfo kasa no ɛbɛyɛ de obi hia ansa na watumi de tumi wɔ mpo asɔfo dwuma mu abrɔfo dwuma ne asetena mu nkɔanimu wɔ nkoasom ebre no sɛdeɛ osi pagya kasa binom na ɔbrɛ ebinom ase no wɔ nkoa bre mu no nkoasom bre mu no ma Ghanafoɔ ankasa bu wɔn kasa ahodoɔ no animtia musua dodoɔ na hyɛ aseɛ hunu brɔfo kasa no sɛ ɛna ɛbɛma obi adie na wakɔ animu wɔ abrabɔ mu nti wɔhyɛ ɔman nkura sɛ onsua brɔfo kasa no bra ɔto ɔna kasa anaasɛ nkasa ahodoɔ no atwene brɔfo kasa nkɔ animu a brɔfo kasa no nkɔ animu no na enyina sɛ edi mu sene yɛ deɛ no na mmom wɔhyɛ da hyehyɛ ɛyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛno na ebetumi ama obi etumi ebie kwan de ama nipa no ɛwɔ n'abrabɔ mu tie ma nipa nyinaa adwen esi so kyɛ yɛn kasa no nti yɛsi wei bɛsɛ kasa foforɔ a na kasa foforɔ sua na ɛkɔ so ansa na abrɔfo ɛba abɛdi yɛ so ɛwɔ nkoasom bere mu fa hodie na akyiri mu nsɛm so wɔ saa bere a Ghana nya fa hodie wɔ afe 1957 mu no na ɛyɛ abakɔsɛm kɛseɛ ma yɛ na yɛhwehwɛ nsesaeɛ ɛwɔ kwan a yɛfa so hunu ɛsane ɛde yɛn akasa ahodoɔ no ɛdi dwuma nso aban ahodoɔ a aba ɛwɔ fa hodie akyiri no ehunu mfasoɔ a ɛwɔ yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no mu ɛwɔ nwomasua amammerɛ na ɔman nkyekyerɛ emu kasa bɛyɛ ɔman no ahyɛnsodeɛ ne amammerɛ agyapadeɛ yɛhyɛ aseɛ hunu yɛn kasa no sɛ ɛho hia ma nwomasua ne asetena mu mpuntuo ne kwan a yɛbɛfa so asane ade yɛn ho ɛwɔ amammerɛ ɛkwan so ade titire baako ɔyɛ ne sɛ ɔde Ghana kasa ahodoɔ no ɛbɛkɔ nwomasua mu yɛyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ ma ɛba bɛyɛ adesuadeɛ no mu baako a duru baabi mpo no yɛyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ sɛ ɛno ɛne ɛmfa nkyerɛ adeɛ firi mfitiaseɛ sukuu mu na agyinahyɛdeɛ no mu nyinaa gyina nhwehwɛmu ahodoɔ a ɛne ama ne bɔ a na ato dwa a ɛkyerɛ sɛ mmɔfra ɛsua adeɛ yie na ɔte aseɛ wɔ berɛ a wɔde ɔna akasa ɛde twɛ mfunuma ɛdi dwuma ɛmmoa aban ɛde maa kasa ahodoɔ no na ɛnam so ɛma a wɔte adwumakuo a ɛfrɛ no Bureau of Ghana Languages a na ne botae ne sɛ ɛbɛboa kasa ahodoɔ mpuntuo emu die a ɛnam kwan bi so ɛbɛte kasa no atwerɛ ɛbɛhyehyɛ kasa no atwerɛ mma na akenkan nwoma so atintim na afei nhwɛmu a ɛfa Ghana kasa ahodoɔ nso so no watumi ayɛ nti wei na ɛyɛ botaeɛ ɛwɔ Ghana Bureau of Languages wɔnam saa nnamɔtue so ama kasa ahodoɔ bebree anya atwerɛ mma adekyerɛ nwoma yenom aboa ama yɛtumi abɔ kasa ahodoɔ binom mu ban ɛna asan so ayɛ fapem ama kasa ahodoɔ no nnwumadie ɛwɔ nwomasua ne amammerɛ dida nso mu saa anisoadehu papa yi nom nyinaa mu no nhyehyɛ ahodoɔ a ɛfa kasa ahodoɔ ho no ɛnni mu ɛna ɛntaa so ɛnyɛ adwuma ɛfiri berɛ a yɛnya ɛfa ahodie ne nyinaa gyina aban ahodoɔ nsesaeɛ a ɛde nsesa bebree aba nhyehyɛeɛ no mu ɛna sikasɛm so abɛyɛ akwansideɛ kɛseɛ ɛde ama ɛfa adekyerɛ nwoma ne yɛ ɛne akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ nteteɛ ɛne nhwɛmu a ɛfa Ghana kasa ahodoɔ no yɛn ani a yɛmfa ɛnni nhyehyɛeɛ no akyi sɛ obi ɛde bɛkyerɛ adeɛ wɔ sukuu mu ɛne ahofama a yɛmfa ma ɛno nti no ɛna ama saa tebea yi egu so a ɛrekɔ so afei yɛhwɛ kasa ahodoɔ ngyinabea wɔ adusuadan mu nhyehyɛeɛ fa kasa ho sɛ yɛmfa Ghana kasa ahodoɔ no nkyerɛ adeɛ ɛfiri mfitiaseɛ kg nkɔnkɔpem base 3 p3 no ɛnhyɛ da ni mu ne nyinaa ne sɛ ɛmfa ho ne nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛma ɛyɛ den sɛ nhyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ no wokɔ adusuadan mu a yɛhu sɛ ɛkɔ so na ne nyinaa no gyina haw bi anaa akandeɛ bi ani hɔ ɛna ama saa tebea no ɛkɔ so nti baako ne sɛ adekyerɛ ne adesua akandeɛ a ɛwɔ ɔman mu kasa ahodoɔ no ɛho ɛyɛ na bi ɔkora baabi abɛnya bi no na ayɛ adeɛ a ɛtwam dada ɛne nnɛ deɛ ɛkɔ so no ɛnyɛ pɛ. Afei deɛ ɛtɔ so bio so akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ ahoboa nso ɛyɛ ɔhaw kɛseɛ paa. Kyerɛkyerɛfoɔ pii na wɔnni nteteɛ mapa ɔkɔn fa so ɛde kasa mmienu ɛkyerɛ mmɔfra adeɛ. No nti onya akokoduro a otimi gyina mmɔfra anim ɛkyerɛ ɔnadeɛ. Na ha ɛna bɛka sɛ University of Education Winneba mfie bebree atwa mu no yɛatete asuafoɔ bebree a wɔnim deɛ ne akokoduro bɛtim deɛ akyerɛ. Nanso ebinom da so tifi a onya adwuma ɛnyɛɛ. Ebio ɔtaa twetwe nipa a ɔbɛbɔ ho emusuo so ɔpɛ sɛ ɔkɔ suapɔn mu kɔkɔ sua Ghana kasa hodoɔ no sɛ bɛ obɛtimi de aboa akyerɛkyerɛ mmɔfra ɛwɔ adesua dan mu. Tie nso so aba bɛyɛ esu a ɛmma kasa no ne teteɛ no ɛnkɔ n'anim. Ɛna bio ani deɛ a yɛmfa ma kasa no ɛnso so ɛmboa ɛmma kasa no ɛntu mpɔn ama yɛntimi nkyerɛ nkora deɛ ɛwɔ adesua dan mu. Ɛtɔ da a awofoɔ bi mpo etimi hyɛ sukuu ɛma ɔma no ɛnka Ghana kasa hodoɔ no emu bia ne mmom ɔmfa brɔfo ɛntete wɔn a ɔno gyidie ne sɛ so osua Ghana kasa hodoɔ no a ɛbɛyɛ osi akwan ɛde ama wɔn pontuo ɛwɔ adesua mu ɛne wɔn yiedie daakye a ɛsusu sɛ saa gyidie nyinaa no ɛnyɛ nokware. Afei kasa ne dwumadie wɔ afiefie ne nkora hodoɔ mu. Efie yɛ beaeɛ bi a yɛn kasa hodoɔ no di akotene paa. Sɛ wokɔ nkurase a ɛnketewa no mu a bon sɛ mmɔfra ɛnam daadaa nkitahodie so ɛne anansesɛm toɔ ɛne nkura ahodoɔ mu dwumadie so esua ɔnkasa ahodoɔ ɛkɔ so wɔ saa nkuro no mu. Mpanyinfoɔ wɔ saa nkuro no mu yi ɛdi adwumasono a ɔde saa kasa no bɛdi dwuma ɛwɔ akwan soronko so na ɛnam so ama ɔtumi bɛde bɛkyerɛ awɔ ntoatoasoɔ mba a ɔdididi soɔ no. Nanso nsesaeɛ ɛɛba ɔhare so paa a ɔkɔ nkura kɛseɛ mu a ɛnam atu kɔtena ɛne nipa dodoɔ a efifiri kasakuo bebree hyiahyia nti no ama yɛde yɛn kasa hodoɔ a ɛwɔ Ghana ha di dwuma no ɛso tia na ɛte. Ɛna bio nso ebinom kɔ aware a kunu ne ɔyere ɛka kasa foforɔ nti no ɛba saa deɛ ɔbɛyɛ ansɛ ne yɛmfa brɔfo kasa a yɛmu biara no ɛnyɛ na yɛde twa efuruma no yɛmfa ntete yɛn mmɔfra no ɛnso so yɛ esi akwan baako a ɛha Ghana kasa no kasa hodoɔ ne mpuntuo no. Ti deɛ ɛka no ha nsɛ sɛ ama mmɔfra no ɛnhunu wɔn kasa a ɛbɛtumi aba sɛ obɛnya emu ntiaseɛ kumaa bi anaasɛ wɔntumi koraa ɛnka koraa na ka mpɛ sɛ wate ase. Sɛ bansa na yɛda akye ɛna yɛto no apete no. Ɛsɛ sɛ brɔfo kasa no ɛbɛdi hene ɛwɔ yɛn afie mu a sunsuanso a ɛde bɛba ne sɛ nkuro ahodoɔ no ɛbɛhwere wɔn kasa no na ɛno nso ɛhɔ ara ɛna ɔbɛhwere nimdeɛ a ɛnam amammerɛ ne amanneɛ so a ɛbɛtumi ama saa nkorankorɛ no ɛbɛtumi atu mpɔn. Sɛ ɛbɛtumi asi wei ano a na ɛtwa sɛ yɛtwe nkurɔfoɔ adwene si mfasoɔ a ɛwɔ yɛn kasa hodoɔ no so na yɛbɔ mmɔden biara sɛ yɛde ɔne brɔfo kasa no nyinaa ɛbɛbom adi dwuma ɛwɔ afiefie mu na ɛbɛdu baabi no mmɔfra no adwene ba yɛn kasa nso a watumi ɛde yɛn kasa no adi dwuma ɛyie. Afei ne dwumadie wɔ nhyiae mudie ase. Yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no kɔ so a di dwumasono ɛwɔ yɛn nhyiamudie ahodoɔ pii ase. Ɛmfa ho ne brɔfo kasa a ɛgye nhini ɛwɔ yɛn man mu no. Wɔ amammerɛ kwan so adwabɔ ahodoɔ ase no ɛne ɛyɛ mmeaeɛ a yɛn kasa no di akotene paa a ɔda wɔn emudie adi. Mpɛn dodoɔ nara wɔde ɔman yi mu kasa ahodoɔ na ɛdi dwuma ɛwɔ afahyɛ ahodoɔ abɛdintoɔ ɛyieyɔ ne nkuro ahodoɔ mu adwabɔ ase a ɛnam so ɛda yɔnkofa kɛseɛ a ɛda ɔkasa amammerɛ ne biara yɛ firi ntɛm. Nhyiamu ahodoɔ ase no wɔto wɔn bo ase ɛyiyi kasa no ɛwɔ kwan soronko so a mpɛn dodoɔ naa no na ɔnam mmebuo ɛda nsɛm a ɛyɛ kuntan adi anaa nsɛm a ɛyɛ du adi. Ɛnwoma a ɔnam yɛn kasa no so anwene a ɔda no adi ɛwɔ yɛn kasa mu no nso ɛda yɛn ne haw adi. Yɛtumi ɛde ɛmoma onipa a wawuo ɛna afei nso yɛtumi nso ɛde da abusua abakɔsɛm a ɛka akoma na ekuta amammerɛ fapem adi. Ɛyɛ di nso obi betumi ede brofo ede amoma obi amana ka nipa no akoma enti de eka se kasa no eguso edi dwuma yie yɛnhwɛ no so sɛ nkasa edi akotene ɛwɔ adwabɔ ase no ɛkɔ mpo ɛwɔ nkuro akɛseɛ mu a eduru bra yɛhyia na yɛdi dwuma a ɛfa amammerɛ ho no dodoɔ na asesa ɔnkasa no firi brɔfom ɛde yɛn krom kasa na sɛ kasa hodoɔ no ɛde di dwuma enti ɛna bio nso boni bɛka sɛ social media so ɛno da nkyɛn a yɛn television ɛne radio so ɛyɛ beaeɛ a kasa no egu so a ɛdi dwuma yie paa yɛhwɛ Ghana radio station ahodoɔ ɛwɔ ha no emu dodoɔ naa no ɛde Ghana kasa hodoɔ no ɛna ɛdi dwuma enti baabi a yɛn nidasoɔ wɔ sɛ kasa no ɛnhera no ɛyɛ saa meayɛ titire ni titire ɛne yɛdi di dwuma ɛwɔ radio ne TV so ɛne adwabɔ ase a yɛ ɛfa amammerɛ ho afei ɔhaw ahodoɔ a yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ahyia wɔ man mu nti yɛbobɔ ntɔfa ahodoɔ ɛnan yɛdi kan yɛn nhyehyɛeɛ a yɛmfa ni dwuma ɛwɔ ne kwan so yɛtɔ so bio ɛyɛ akade a ɛho yɛ na a yɛbɛtumi de akyerɛ adeɛ ɛwɔ adesua dan mu ana deɛ ɛtɔ so mmiɛnsa ɛyɛ timamufoɔ no ɔnsu ɛne nimtia a ɔbu yɛn krom kasa ahodoɔ no na deɛ ɛtɔ so nan ɛyɛ sintoɔ ɛwɔ abɛɛfo mfidie ɛkwan so afei kasa no daakye ani dasoɔ ɛne akwanya bɛn ɛna ɛwɔ hɔ yɛsɛ yɛntumi nkyerɛ yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ne daakye ɛwɔ berɛ yi mu na mmom daakye gyina nhyehyɛeɛ a ahodoɔ a yɛde bɛgu akwan mu ɛwɔ mmeaeɛ ahodoɔ bi ɛte sɛ nwoma sua abɛɛfo mfidie so ɛne ɔkasa nhyehyɛeɛ ahodoɔ mu ɛwɔm sɛ yɛn kasa no ahyia ɔhaw ahodoɔ a ɛgyina abakɔsɛm ɛne kasa nhyehyɛeɛ ahodoɔ so deɛ nanso sɛ yɛbɔ mmɔden ne yɛtu anammɔn na yɛde ani ba ho sɛ yɛpɛ sɛ yɛpagya mu a yɛbɛtumi ama kasa no mu apagya yɛsɛ sɛ yɛde yɛn kasa no gyina bia a ɛbɛma ɛho aba mfasoɔ ama mpuntuo na mmom ɛmmɛyɛ akwansideɛ a Ghana bɛtumi ama ne kasa hodoɔ no atim na ama yɛn man a ɛma a yɛyɛ mmarima a yɛyɛ no adi mu na asane so de nwomasua ne nsunsuanso pa nso abrɛ ɔmaa no afei nwomasua ne nimdeɛ nyini nwomasua da adi ɛda so a ɛyɛ beaeɛ titire a yɛbɛtumi afa so abɔ yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ho ban a na yɛama no anyini so sɛ yɛhyɛ adekyerɛ ne adesua a yɛhyɛ adekyerɛ ne adesua a ɛgyina yɛn kasa nso dada no ne titire so titire a ɛsane ma ɛkwan ɛmi yɛtumi ɛde kasa no ɛde kasa a ɛboro baako ɛde kasa ɛboro baako di dwuma yɛhyɛ mu kena a ɛbɛboa ama yɛn nwomasua atu mpɔn ne titire ne mfitiaseɛ sukuru korɔ no afei wɔde kasa a mmɔfra ɛte aseɛ ɛkyerɛ wɔn so a ɛboa ma mmɔfra no ɛdi yie na wɔte adekyerɛ adeɛ ne ase yie ɛma wɔtumi de saa nimdeɛ korɔ no nso so no ɛsua kasa foforɔ ɛne nneɛma foforɔ pii a ɔkyerɛ wɔn no adesua dan mu ɛnna bio nso sɛ yɛbɛtumi ɛde nhyehyɛeɛ ahodoɔ ɛde dwuma yie nso a na ɛhia paa sɛ yɛde sika ɛbɛhyɛ akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ nteteeɛ ɛne nwomasua ade yɛ susu mu na ɛtumi apia ama kasa no atu mpɔn ebi ne sɛ yɛtete wɔn ɛwɔ adekyerɛdeɛ akwan ahodoɔ mu na adesua nhyehyɛeɛ nwoma ɛyɛ curriculum ne twerɛ mu afei sɔhwɛ akwan ahodoɔ ne deɛ keka aka ho yɛde sika ɛtaa akyire ne yɛde pia a wei nyinaa bɛtumi aboa ama yɛtumi atete akyerɛkyerɛfoɔ a wɔn nso bɛtumi akɔ yɛn sukuu adan mu akyerɛkyerɛ asuafoɔ no bio ɛho bɛhia sɛ yɛbɛtwerɛ nwoma ahodoɔ a ɛbɛboa ama amammerɛ sua ne adesuafoɔ no ɛmfie a wadi no ɛkɔ pɛpɛɛpɛ no so ama watumi ate aseɛ adesua nwoma dodoɔ na ne abasɛm nwoma ne abɛɛfo mfidie ho adesua aboadeɛ ahodoɔ a ɛfa nneɛma a ɛwɔ yɛn man mu no ho ɛbɛtumi ama adesuafoɔ no ate deɛ osua no ase na afei nso asa ahyɛ wɔn kasa no mu kasa no ne kenkan ne n'atwerɛ no mu so ɛkena afei yɛde abɛɛfo mfidie ɛhyɛ nkasa sua mu abɛɛfo mfidie akɔ n'anim ɛwɔ wiase afa nan mu ɛde akwanya akɛseɛ so aba paa abɛto hɔ a bɛboa ama yɛatumi atrɛ mmeaeɛ a yɛde yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ɛdi dwuma mu. Ɔkasa no twerɛ ɛho anamontu ahodoɔ a ebi ne sɛ yɛnya beaeɛ bi ɛwɔ internet so na yɛde yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ɛbɛgu so ɛne nsɛmfua ne nkyerɛaseɛ nwoma ahodoɔ ɛne otiehwɛ nneɛma ahodoɔ a ɛbɛtumi aboa abɔ yɛn kasa no ho ban. Nti yɛfa saa kwan so ɛbɛtumi abɔ ho ban ɛde ama nkyima. Afei kasa ahodoɔ nkyerɛaseɛ ne kasa nkyerɛaseɛ mfidie ahodoɔ a ɛne ɔkasa no mu mfidie ahodoɔ nso ɛma yɛn akwan foforɔ a yɛbɛtumi afa so ama afoforɔ ɛhunu yɛn kasa no na ɔde ɛdi dwuma ɛwɔ yɛn daadaa asetena mu. Yɛde yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no hyɛ internet so mmeaeɛ ahodoɔ mu a ɛne phone so mmeaeɛ ahodoɔ ɛne AI mmeaeɛ ahodoɔ mu a ɛbɛma ɛnnɛ mmerɛ yi mu mmabunu a wɔde abɛɛfo mfidie ɛdi dwuma no ɛbɛma na ayɛ mmerɛ ama wɔn sɛ daada wɔbɛtumi akɔ hɔ na wɔasua wɔn kasa yie. Wei bɛboa ama yɛ kasa no anya gyinabea ɛwɔ nnɛ wiase a abɛɛfo mfidie ɛdi hene ɛwɔ mu no mu. Afei nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛne nkuro nkumaa nkitahodie. Ɔkasa nhyehyɛeɛ nko a ntumi mmoa ma yɛn kasa no ɛnnyini sɛdeɛ yɛhwehwɛ no. Na mmom ɛbɛhia sɛ asoɛeɛ ahodoɔ ɛbɛka wɔn ho abom na watu anammɔn a ɛfata. Ɛtwa sɛ aban nnwumakuo ahodoɔ, sukuu ne suapɔn ahodoɔ, nhemfo, akuo ahodoɔ ne nkuro ahodoɔ no ɛka bom ɛyɛ yɛn kasa no ho nhyehyɛeɛ a ɛdi mu a na wɔde yɛ adwuma nso. Nsakyerɛeɛ a ɛgyina hwehwɛmu so ɛnso ɛho hia paa sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a kasa no nhyehyɛeɛ no ahodoɔ no ɛbɛnya nyinasoɔ a ɛgyina adanseɛ so na ɛda nneɛma a ɛkɔ so ɛwɔ yɛn mpɔtam so ɛdi. Nkuro ɛne mu nkitahodie nso ɛho hia paa ɛsiane sɛ ɔkasa no bɛma ne homene so a ne dwumadie ɛwɔ daadaa nkitahodie no hia paa yie. Anammɔn ahodoɔ nkuro ahodoɔ no ɛbɛdi animu atu no ebi ɛne ne kenkan ne n'atwerɛ nnwumadie ahodoɔ no ɛwɔ afahyɛ so ase nansesɛmtoɔ emu nnwuma ahodoɔ ɛne media so anaasɛ television ne radio so ne social media so nnwumadie ahodoɔ no ɛbɛboa ama yɛ kasa no ɛtu mpɔn ɛberɛ a yɛde yɛn nidie nso so mmabunu no de yɛn nidie ma yɛn kasa yɛde twa wɔn funuma. Afei sɛ nkuro ahodoɔ no agye tum sɛ ɔbɛboa ama ɔkasa no atu mpɔn a na ɛtaa kɔba sɛ ɛtim ɛho na ɛho so bɛhia ɛwɔ yɛn amammerɛ emu ne mpagyaa no emu. Nti deɛ ɛka sɛ ma yɛnyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ ɛmfiri ɛsoro anaasɛ aban mu ɛmfa ma kasa no ne mpuntuo. Mmom yɛmma amanfoɔ no a wɔreka kasa no ɔmmerɛm berɛ a yɛyɛ nhyehyɛeɛ sɛ ɛbɛyɛ kasa no atu mpɔn. Yɛyɛ ne saa ɛno na ɛboa ɛma ɔde wɔn ho hyɛm na ɔhwɛ sɛ kasa no ɛtu mpɔn. Nti mede me kasa ɛba awieeɛ no na deɛ meka ne sɛ yɛmmaa mu kasa ahodoɔ no ɛkɔ so adi akotene ɛwɔ amammerɛ ɛne nneɛma ahodoɔ binom emu. Nanso akwanhyia bebree ɛfa nwomasua ɔkasa nhyehyɛeɛ ne abɛɛfo mfidie ahodoɔ ɛho. Abakɔsɛm ama yɛate aseɛ sɛ saa ɔha ahodoɔ yi ne fareba gyinabea ɛyɛ aborɔfo a ɔba bɛdi yɛn so ɛne nhyehyɛeɛ a ɔde to akwan mu na aba bɛyɛ akwansideɛ ɛde ama saa ɛde ɔha yi aba. Ɛna afei so yɛn nneyɛɛ ɛne animtie a yɛbu kasa no ɛna ama kasa no ne gyina ɛne ne nkankɔ no ayɛ ɔhaw. Sɛ yɛpɛ sɛ yɛn kasa ahodoɔ no ɛnya daakye a ɛho bɛhia sɛ yɛde sika ɛbɛhyɛ nwoma esua abɛɛfo mfidie ne ɔkasa no hyehyɛeɛ a yɛde bɛdi dwuma no emu. Sɛ ɛhu sɛ yɛn kasa no ɛyɛ nneɛma a ɛboa nimdeɛ amammerɛ ne mpuntuo a Ghana bɛtumi abɔ dodoɔ nwoma sua ɛne amammerɛ a ɛwɔ nyinasoɔ ne mpuntuo a adwene ɛwɔ mu no ɛho dawuro. Sɛ yɛntumi deɛ ɛka sɛ yɛntumi nsɔ yɛn man mu ɛhaw ano na yɛntu mpɔn ɛwɔ berɛ a yɛde ɔman foforɔ so kasa ɛna ɛredi dwuma. Ɔnkasa ne ɔno adwene ɛna ɛredi dwuma. Nti sɛ yɛpɛ mpuntuo near Pencoswa, Yentimi, Enyam Puntu, and then Coswo, a bra, a do be Casa, and then a juneta Casanechi, Casana Mamre, and a teachuma, Tiha, and am de Marsemno, ABC, Medamunina Moisi. Santi Sana.
Thank you. Oh, please don't get off. You're not allowed to. Okay, thank you. Can we give him that applause that I taught you guys? The Hongera. Hongera. You remember? Okay, let's start. Hongera. Imara. Wow. Okay. Are there any few questions that people would love to ask or any opinions? I could come. You only need to raise your hand and I will be there. Any questions that you would like to ask, Professor, or any opinions that you might have? You're welcome. Yes, please.
Hello. Thank you so much, Professor, for the wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed, and I also appreciate the effort that the university have made to help the language, the Ghanaian languages. I have a question regarding how the university is working to help more people pursue Ghanaian languages. I've had experience like visiting the university to engage, especially Dagbani department, and I realized every year there's a decline of the number of students enrolled. We already know most of the reasons why more people are not interested in studying these languages. I'm sure all of us would agree with me that there's really a decline in how we use our languages in various schools and institutions. My question is, what effort is the university making to help more people to enroll or to study languages at the university, since there's always a decline in the number of students enrolled?
Okay, thank you very much. As I said during my address, welcome address, the university is one of the few universities in the Sub-Saharan Africa that offers opportunity to promoting indigenous languages. So we run currently as many as 14 indigenous Ghanaian languages. 3 are in the pipeline to be added next year, hopefully, and others are also coming on board. So over the years, we have tried to train as many teachers, potential teachers as possible. And what we do is we go out on what we call enrollment drive. So we drive all the way from Winneba to every part of Ghana, from north, south, east, and west, and go and market our program to potential applicants. So we have been doing that. But recently, as you rightly noted, the numbers have been coming down, and they are due to several factors. One of the factors is when we train our products, we often hear that they are the reason why we are not implementing a policy, Ghanaian language policy education. I think just about last October, the minister instructed with immediate effect that Ghana Education Service to ensure the Ghanaian languages are used at the lower primary level. But the question was, are there Ghanaian language teachers in the classroom presently? That is the first question. The second question is, are there actually trained Ghanaian language teachers? The answers are, first one is no. There are not enough Ghanaian language teachers in classrooms. In fact, when the minister made the announcement, somebody commented that, how can an urban man teaching in Tamale be able to use Dagbani when I haven't done it before? But there are a lot of Dagbani students who we have trained over the years. And these are very well-trained teachers. They are still around. Some as many as 8 years, they are looking for a placement in Ghana Education Service. So for resource, human resource, there are more than enough in the 14 Ghanaian languages. We have many of them are there. So that is also not helping the actualization of the policy. So we do that. And recently too, there has been a policy issue where many universities, which are not mandated in quote to run or train people in language education, have now been given the leeway. So almost all big universities in Ghana are running education. We mentioned Dagbani, UDS has started running education, but you can know the University for Development Studies, but now they are into Dagbani. Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is also running Ghanaian languages. So everywhere there's a keen competition for Ghanaian language. So that is in a way also affecting our numbers. And also the training colleges, the College of Education, our College of Education are also running degree programs in basic, early grade, upper primary, and JHS education. And for those who are doing JHS, they are mandated to do a Ghanaian language. So people also think, for proximity's sake, why do I travel all the way down south when there is a College of Education nearby, where I can go and also do the Ghanaian language? So these are external factors that are causing the downward trend. But we haven't given up. We are also pushing to get the situation reversed. And I think one suggestion we are now looking at is engagement. Maybe you need to engage the traditional leaders, let them know the importance of promoting the language through what we do at the university. So that is what I can say for now about the numbers that are going down. It's a policy issue and also attitudinal, and also somehow socio-economic. When I finish and there's not immediate employment for me, then the question is, why do I have to go into that? So these are all combined factors that are affecting the numbers. But as I said, we are keeping on even expanding to other languages. That is our mandate. We want to give opportunities to as many Ghanaian languages to promote them as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Now, in the intro, I would like to let the professor go for the moment, and we'll have more conversations. You can ask him later some more of the things that you need. And yeah, I have some questions here. I will ask you later, but thank you very much for showing us how Ghanaian languages, I'm told it's not Ghanaian, it's Ghanaian. Is that correct? It's Ghanaian? Ghanaian. Okay. She said it's like saying Tanzanian when it's Tanzanian. So, okay, I'm sorry. I just want to say thank you, Professor, for that presentation, reminding us that indigenous languages in Ghana are not marginal by nature. They are central to governance, education, culture, and community life before colonial hierarchies pushed them aside. So thank you for helping us see both the depth of what we stand to lose and the real opportunities we still have. And I now want to quickly, without further ado, welcome I now want to welcome Dr. Nana Amina Wiafe Akenten. You will forgive me if I have misspelled, please. Please welcome, and I will say a little bit about you. Dr. Amina, Nana Amina, is a language and media expert. She's the first to earn a PhD in TRI, lectures at UNIMAC and University of Ghana, and trains media professionals to use languages ethically and powerfully through her Language Watch Foundation. Congratulations on that. And please do welcome. So, yes, we will keep it short so that people can also ask you more questions. Yes, and we do have a panel discussion, so please let's prepare ourselves for that. Karibu sana.
You said Asante. All right, thank you very much. But I'm also doing my presentation in Chi. And no. Okay, my presentation is in Chi language. And Prof. Adumako, thank you so much. I think he's presented almost part of what I'm going to say. So I'm actually going to be brief. Yes. All right. So I'm presenting on cultural economy, language as a heritage and economic asset. Said ya mamre ebwa omaino sikasem yen kasa se yedwetre ene yen ejapade. Enti ni edi ka mehwe se nti a yen kasa yen ya mamre ejapade. Ejapade a eboa yen sikasem na mahwe se ne amamre fa eye nsrahwe eboa yen sikasem ene senia kasa ene amamre sua enso boa yen sikasem senia da obo adwuma sini nwomto ene nwuma etesa anso eboa ma yen sikasem etumpon ena afin senia abefun fidie eye technology ene digital no ni nyina so kabom eboa yen sikasem empuntuo ene ohaw kakra bi ewo ho a ese yehwe na yetimi esom na ye page na eboa yen sikasem nti sani aye nyina ye nimu nti menka ne bebre kasa edi akoten ewo bibia ye yempie mu abrabon nkrabata biara kasa edi akoten wo mu se eye nkrabata bi te se eye ayaresa infidijuma bibi biara kasa edi akoten wo mu enu nti ena se obi kra pese osua ade anaso oye bibi na onte saa nipako ne kasa otua sika ede ko ekosua na otimi ye saa de epemunim de na otimi ye saa de no wenom ne enkaye bi ene boa so otua sika asua anase otua sika penim de bi no ene boa ema nipako no saa nipako ne kasa no esikasem etu empon enti no senti a ye kasa ye amamre ejapade ena meba beka ho asem ti awen ye nkasa no mu ena ye kra ya abakosem yamane ene yamamre ye nim dia kwan a ye nananom anase ye faso ebo ye bra anase ye nananom edibu oman ema oman no ekooso eyie ye mra ye ntoto ye bibia no se oman na ji atum no ni nyina ehye kasam a ye ka yesua na ye di dwuma no na ye de eboa ni nyina tan hu ewo yen enum sem kasa dwini ya adom ankoma sem bi te se anansesem ene ememu amanaman dodo no a enam kasa so e de saa niama weenom eja yenkyirima eye awonto atoaso nipakuo bia egitum se obi ewo kasa ho nimdia a eya ade a modi ani die ma nipa no na osombo ema wom esan se saa nipa ne boa epeja eye won kasa ene won amamre no UNESCO hwehwemu ekra nso kire yen se yehunu amamre ne fa papa se eye japade bi a etumi etena obi adwen mu na eboa na brabo ene se obekura suban pa edi aboa oman empuntuo ne ntotoye ene nhyehyeye bi a yeye ede boa ye man no se oman anase nipakuo bi omohwere mo kasa na omahwere ekwan a ema wodanso sedia woye wo niama ne eti omase nema yehu se saa nipakuo fuyi omunie no omohwere mo kasa saa ahyensode we nyina omohwere enso eka ho nti senka nipa behu nanka ebia ebinom kwaba betua sika ato na aboa mo ni nyina omohwe ni nyina so eka ho nti kwa weenom na kasa efa so de entoboa ebre oman no ene oman no mpuntu ene ne sikasam yen kasamu na yen nyansa yenimdie kwan pa hodo bi aye nananom fa so bu oman no na eboa ye no ehyem yen kasamu ena nipako no enso nimdeɛ ne ɔmo ntotoyɛ ɛhyɛ mu yɛn kasa na ɛhyɛ yɛn so it is our identity ɛsan kyerɛ baabi pɔte a kasa bi obi bɛka no ɛna kyerɛ baabi pɔte a saa nipa no ofire ɛyɛ ɛkwan bi a ɛkyerɛ yɛ amammerɛ na yɛtɔn ɛde ma afoforo ɛnyɛ sika sɛ yɛanka yɛ kasa a na yɛnsua yɛ amammerɛ a ɛma nimdeɛ a yɛwɔ wɔ nneɛma atwa yɛn ho ahyia no ɛtɔ sin paa akwan ahodoɔ a kasa ne amammerɛ boa yɛn sikasɛm ɛka nkɔ bi ɛne saa nneɛma yɛ amba bɛbobɔ so yi ɛyɛ yɛn srahwɛ adwuma mu adesua kasa ne amammerɛ ne sua ɔman no ne amanɔne nyinara sɛ yɛsua kasa no yɛkyerɛ na afoforo ɛba abɛsua no nso no ɛboa yɛn sikasɛm ɛsiane sɛ nea wɔkyerɛ ɛnyɛ sika nea wɔsua nso ɛtua sika nhoma tintim ɛne kasa nkyerɛ aseɛ adwuma ɛkyerɛ mɛka wɔ enum nyinaa ho nsɛm tiawa mɛtire mu tiawa ɛna adawubɔ adwuma nnwumadi ahodoɔ mu di sinitwa ɛne nom toɔ ɛna afei nso na abɛɛfo social media ne technology sɛnea ɔmo ka bom na ɔmo de yɛ kasa nkasa to so ɛno nso ɛwɔ kwan bi a ɛboa ɛde sika ɛbrɛ yɛn wɔ enum nyinaa kyerɛ yɛn hia a yɛkasa hia ɛwɔ bibia a yɛyɛ mu na ehia sɛ yɛde bɛdi dwuma na yɛne nkorabata afoforo adi nsanwosoɔ sɛnea meka sɛ abɛɛfo mfidiefoɔ yi yɛn yɛ kasa ho animdifoɔ yɛne ɔm bɛdi nsanwosoɔ ne adane yɛn kasa ne amammerɛ mu ɛwɔ abɛɛfo kwan so na ayɛ anika titiriw ama mmɛbun no sɛ ɔm de bɛdi dwuma na aboa ɛno nso ɛwɔ yɛ sikasɛm kwan so nti ne yɛdi kan meka afa yɛ amammerɛ ne yɛn srahwɛ adwuma no sɛnea ɛboa yɛn sikasɛm nti maka sɛ nsrahwɛ adwuma no ɛyɛ adwadie bi a yɛkɛseɛ a ɛboa yɛn sikasɛm ne fa ne ahɔhogyeɛ sɛ obi ba abɛsua yɛ kasa anaasɛ ɔba abɛhwɛ amammerɛ fa bi ɔba abɛsra ɔman mu baabi nkorabata bi no ahɔhogyeɛ kwan so yɛnyɛ sika firi hɔ yɛyɛ ahɔhoɔ no nyinaa so no yɛtɔn dabrɛ mu nnuane a yɛyɛ nnuanetɔfoɔ nnuanetɔnfoɔ mu nyinaa nso nyɛ sika efi hɔ afahyɛ ahodoɔ a yɛdie na afoforo yɛmma mu hafoɔ ɛrekɔ ebi te sɛ kwawu Easter du so a ɛno nso no nkɔfoɔ ɛrekɔ nyinara ɔmo kɔ akɔhwɛ edu baabi a amanɔnefoɔ koraa nso ba ne nyinaa nso yɛ kwan a yɛfa so nyɛ sika a saa amammerɛ kwan yi ɛma ɔman no sikasɛm ɛkɔ soro yɛn srahwɛ adwuma yɛfoɔ nso ɔmo nyɛ sika saa bere yi ɛna nkyerɛkyerɛmufoɔ no interpreters ɛne ɔmo a ɔmo de ɔmo kɔ mmeaeɛ ahodoɔ no ɛkyerɛkyerɛ sɛ wei na ɛwɔ ha wei na ɛwɔ ha ɔmo nso no yɛtu ɔmo ka nyinaa no na ɔmo nya sika ne fa bi nso no nsrahwɛ no nso boa ma yɛdin ɛhyeta ɛkɔ amanɔne ɛne mmeaeɛ afoforo amansan adwa so ɛma yɛ afoforo anika sɛ ɔmo bɛba aba abɛsua yɛ amammerɛ ne yɛ amanneɛ yɛaba kɔsɛm nyinaa yɛ kwan a wei ɛboa na afoforo ba abɛsua no ɛboa yɛn sikasɛm yɛnyi ahyɛnkafoɔ ɔmo nso de ɔmo kɔ ɔmo ba ɛne ɔmo yɛ ahyɛn adwuma saa bere ɔmo nyinaa nso enya sika ɛna kasa ne amammerɛ ne sua nankasa no nso kwan a ɛboa yɛn sikasɛm ewiase adesua nyinaa egyina kasa so nti sɛ obi besua bibi na ɔnte kasa bi a yɛhyɛ da ma ne ba University of Media Arts and Communication Institute of Languages yɛwɔ afoforo mu fi amanɔne ebinom ba ɛba besua ɛyɛ yɛ kurom kasa yi ɛwɔ hɔ obi wɔ hɔ koraa a ɔtu kwan na ɛsɛ osua kurom kasa kakasa foforo bi ho a ɔba besua ne nyinaa nso yɛ ade a ɛma asuapɔn no ɛne ɔman nyinaa sika ɛma esikasɛm ɛkɔ so seesei ɛnyɛ ɔman mu nko a yɛkasa a yama ɛhyeta ɛgye nhini na yɛde di dwuma wɔ mmeaeɛ afoforo no nso no aboa ɛma asuapɔn ahodoɔ bi a ɛwɔ amanɔne ebi te sɛ Ohio University, Indiana State University ɛne nkaeɛ bebree ɛnyɛ United States of America nko okɔ United Kingdom ɛne ada ɛne aman nkaeɛ so a omusua ye krom kasa wo hɔ no so boa na yenya sika fim na boa yensi kasam okwan a ye fa so nya sika firi adesua ebi mu nso no akyerɛkyerɛfo mo kyerɛ enya sika nhoma twerɛfo nhoma tonfo omo nya sika kasa nkyerɛaseɛfo translators and interpreters eno nso enya sika omo nya sika ena afei nso no sɛnea medi kan ebo University of Media Arts and Communication yenkrabata se omo mbesua ade omo besua ekrom kasa ne ade ni nyina nso ya ade a edi sika ebre esuapon enkaya ye kyerɛ ye krom kasa no nso ewo hɔ ena afei nso no amanone adesua nhyehyɛ ye fa bi etie ene ehunimdeɛ a ɛsɛ ya ye kyerɛ no nso nyinara eboa ema akyerɛkyerɛfo ene adesuafo no ene sukuu nankasa edi sikaba ema eboa ɔman no afei nso ye oprama afoforo asesei utimi kɔso internet so ne nyina akosua ekrom kasa na eno nso edi sika ebre akyerɛkyerɛfo bion da ubonyuma no ene sinitwafo ene nyomtofo ɔmo nso sɛ ne ɔmo di ɔmo dwuma na ebinom di ekrom kasa ene di dwuma de toto so no ɛbɔ ye kasa ne ho dawuru ɛkɔ akyiri ema ɛyɛ anikama afoforo sɛ ɔmo bɛba abesua na ɔmo nso de ayɛ bibi ne nyina nso yɛ kwan a ɛboa ɛde sika ɛba ɔman mu na emu adwumayɛfo no nso no enya sika ya ne kasa democracy is something very expensive enne ye krom kasa ye didi dwuma ɛwɔ radio ni TV so no aboa kabi ma menka bi amamu pa nso emma niama ene dwumadi a ɔmo yɛ no ɔmanfo bi ti ase emma ɔmo de ɔmo ho hyem ɛwɔ ɔman ne ntotoyɛ ene ɔman ne moa ebinom kra nyamu adwadie a ɔmo de boa ɛno nso ɛyɛ sika kwan a ɛboa ɛyɛ yensi kasam ensam ne niama ne bi wɔ hɔ a ya na ɔmo bɔ ho dawuro a ɔmo ka no ɛwɔ ye krom kasam ɛno nso ɛboa adetonfoɔ ɛne adwadifoɔ no nso paa nti we nyina yɛ kwan a sɛ yɛkura yɛn kasa no mu yie ne adidi dwuma a ɛboa sɛ yɛba abɛɛfo mfidie sɛ ne amdi kan boss no nso mu a ɛnɛ artificial intelligence AI niama bebree a yɛka yɛdi ho dwuma edi ho nkita ho no ye krom kasa ededa so a eno nso eboa etumpon a mebu ni bi mpo mo ani nye ho se nkom de bedi dwuma no omo nyina afa ede atoto so ede di dwuma a eno nso eboa ede sika eba a ehyem aya prep eno eye abefo mfidie bi a ene software bi a omo ahyeda ahyehya a omo de kyerɛ eye ye krom kasa eye twi oma ye bi ogan ebe ene tifi mantem kasa ahoduro mu eno nso ya ade a ebo adesuafo papa yie a nia oyeye abefu ni namani edisika ebre no wanya adwuma eye a omo tonso eboa wo ma obi kra nko ni adwuma no obesua twa etimi akọ asuapon mu abetimi aye adwuma aboa ne ho aboa eye oman yi nso daachi ni nyina aboa sikasam nti no mede ma asɛm no eba awiye no meka sɛ ye krom kasa sɛ ye ka ne adidi dwuma ɛyɛ ɔbaadeɛ dwetire agyapadeɛ kɛse a ɔde ama yɛn yamamre ɛno nso ɛyɛ dwetire kɛseɛ a emu ntaadeɛ emu mpaboa a yɛ ankasa yɛhyehyɛ wɔ ye krom ha yɛn kente yahofadeɛ ne nyinaa sɛ yɛ somu ye ne adidi dwuma ne yɛ ne ya yeton afoforo ani ka ho omoto yen yankasa nso yetobi ema ede oman mu sika ene amano ne sika ebre yen ema yen nyina eboa yen sikasam empuntu ebi nye sika kuma ebi ye sika akese yankasa akyese ebinom nyamu sika opepepepe a se nka oman yi aban ene yen nyina aka kasa no ne ani abeje ye kasa ho ne ani abeje yankasa ani ama ho na ye kyerɛ ye ma no na ɔmo kana ne ama atwa ye ho ahyia no ɔmo ani gye ho so ɔmo besua bibi afa ho enya mu nimdeɛ ɛde ayɛ bibi pa aboa ye ho ani ɔman yi na ɔmo ayɛ so ɔmo bɛdanim ne etimi kura de bi abo ɔman de bi akɔ ama no ne enyemu sika bebree a ebeboa oman puntu ene oman sika sempa antima yentoto na ase medam ase oyiwadon mochumi nagode merci beaucoup gracias thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nana. So, before she leaves, thank you for that presentation. Is there anyone that has any questions that they would like to ask Dr. Nana? Any views, opinions? Or if you don't agree with her, it's also okay. Anyone, anywhere? Okay. Since you're all quiet, like I said, I like games, carrots and sticks. Now I wasn't able to listen to it because I had things to do. I want somebody, 2 people, to explain to me what she was saying. Explain to me like a 5-year-old. Make me understand. In 1 minute, we'll have 2 people, 3 people, and the one that does best, if you guys agree, will get a gift. I have some gifts with me. Who is willing? You'll get a gift. 1 courageous person. 2 or 3. You are all not listening. Who was listening? Anyone? Just a short summary, maybe not the whole of it, just a bit. I just want to see. Yes, please. Oh, she'll come. Miriam. Yes.
Somebody here in Ghana, Aya Repap.
Yes?
Gets the name correctly. Aya Repap. So the institutional company has been helping with the Ghanaian languages, translations and things like that.
Okay.
I've got it. And then when we talk about OPPP, it simply means millions of CDs that you can get out of translations and out of the language. Thank you.
Actually, I heard the word pepe and then I remembered the food I ate. Is it pepe or pepe? In East Africa, it's pepper, guys. It's pepper. No pepe, but then we move. Yes.
Thank you. So I'm not a Khan, so I didn't really get everything, but the little I got is she said that our local language is promoting tourism, and then the tourism is also earning the country lots of money. And then she also mentioned that the tree is studied in Unimac IL, and then it's also studying in universities outside, not just the USA, but also in Ohio University and Indiana State. And I like how she got the artificial intelligence in tree, how she spelled that, and then data. I didn't know that data had a name in tree. I saw that as well. I can't pronounce it, but I saw that as well.
What is it?
In someone.
In someone.
In some now, Boabo, now, the Dijuma, AM Pensen, Muntia Freno, and someone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, you guys decide, who should I give that gift to? Huh? What's your name? Okay. Okay, so I have here, Miriam, please do me the honors. Now, this is a very Tanzanian delicacy from the islands of Zanzibar. It's baobab seed candy. So that's for you. Please clap for her. If you make me happy, you get even better gifts. But also, she tried. The other lady. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Dr. Nana. I will have to let you go. Thank you for that. We appreciate, and it was very interesting. in as much as I had only Pepe and remembered my experiences. Sorry. I have a few housekeeping things that I would like to share with you quickly because we have people coming in. First and foremost, all of you that are coming in, please, let's move forward. Let us all move forward. I know you have a myriad of reasons why you are at the back, but please, let's move forward. Kindly, I am waiting for you. There are very many empty seats, so please feel free to come closer, and then we can make better use of the space. I am waiting. And while you do that, I also want to announce that we have I already did announce, but we do have a book exhibition going on, and they've already set up their stations. If you want to go and have a look and learn something from them, ask them, you are very welcome to do so. And for anyone that is feeling thirsty, I know it's hot here, we have a water dispenser at the back with cups there. You can go and use it. Lastly, for all speakers that have PPT, PowerPoint slides, we do have this remote control. I wasn't able to tell Dr. Nana because she was already doing it, but you can have this, and everything is on the Google Drive of the live streaming guy. So you only need to move up, down, okay? Don't worry. You don't need to come here with your laptop unless there is need to do that, okay? So that's that. I now want to welcome, we have a panel. We do have a panel discussion. If you check into your programs, you will see that we have Dr. Rebecca Arthur. We have Dr. Pascal Podo. We have Dr. Chempong Samuel. We have Dr. Abraham Kwesi and Dr. Emmanuel Dogbe. But they will be moderated by Dr. Simpiwe. So I want to welcome, as I call you, please come forward. Okay, I know you're all here. Dr. Rebecca Arthur, please welcome. Help me with this. Please let us welcome Dr. Rebecca Arthur. Yes. And Dr. Pascal Podo and Dr. Chempong Samuel. Yes? Okay. And Dr. Emmanuel Dogbe. Yes, and our moderator. Please, the lady that is wearing a traditional attire, Siwapiwe, welcome. Karibu. Yeah, but I won't move. Yeah, so I want to say a little bit about Dr. Rebecca Arthur. She is a senior lecturer and head of the Department of English Education at the University of Education, Winneba. She has over 25 years of experience in teaching and research with a focus on English methods and literary development. She also works closely with teacher training institutions, NGOs, and international education partners. Please say hi to us, Doctor. Yes, we want to know you. But we also do have Dr. Pascal Podo, who is a senior lecturer in Ewe language and linguistics at the University of Education, Winneba. He's the former head of department and currently coordinates postgraduate studies in the Faculty of Ghanaian Languages Education. Can you say hi to us? Yes. And then we have Dr. Achempong Samuel Owahene, who is a linguist and educator shaping Ghanaian languages, especially Mabia languages like, I don't want to mention this language, Likpapan. He bridges research, language development, and education policy to promote access, equity, and justice for all learners. Can you say hi to us, Doctor? Yes, thank you. And then we also have Dr. Abraham Kwesi. Is he here? Professor. Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So we do have Professor Abraham Kwesi, who is a linguist with a PhD from the University of Hong Kong and over a decade of experience exploring languages, society, and how words shape the world around us. Can you also say hi to us? Thank you. It's nice to know you. Who have I left? Dr. Emmanuel Dogbe? Yes. He's the head of Airway Education at University of Education Winneba, a scholar of literature and language who shows how words entertain, educate, and empower, with expertise in airway culture, oral tradition, and literary studies. Can you also greet us? Thank you. It's nice to know you. Lastly, we do have our very own moderator, Siwapiwe Sibeko, who is a linguist and literacy champion, and she helps young learners thrive by turning African languages into bridges for early literacy, creating inclusive language-rich classrooms that spark curiosity and a love of learning. Can we give them a round of applause, please? I've taken Dr. Siwapi's phone. Now, we do have something that's going to come up. Can you give us just 5 minutes as we wait, and we will have a short video that's going to be shown there. Just 5 minutes. I want to apologize. I made a mistake, just a little confusion, but not a bad one. It's all good. I actually forgot to introduce Dr. Naledi Mbude Mehana, who is going to be also a moderator. So I want to call up, please, Dr. Naledi, please come up. Can we, to make up for it, please let us clap even harder. Help me. I'm sorry. Yes. And because I left you out, you're going to be the only one that will have the privilege of introducing yourself. Yes. Yeah, as part of apology. Yes. Karibu. Yeah. Can you introduce just a short?
Oh, okay. Molweni, Sanibonani, I'm Naledi Mbude Mehana. I'm the Deputy Director General of Education in South Africa, in Pretoria. Thank you.
Nkosi, asante. Molweni, sanibonani, dumelang, good morning. That's only 4 of the 11 official languages of South Africa. Igama lam nguSiwaphiwe Sibeko, ndingumarhadebe umthimkhulu uNdlebentle Zombini uBhungane. If you don't hear that, it's fine. Those are my clan names. I am from AmaXhosa tribe in South Africa, the Eastern Cape and Ngamakwe, and I work as a programs officer with an organization called Funda Wande, Reading for Meaning. We are a foundational literacy and numeracy organization responsible for making sure that children read for meaning and calculate with confidence by the age of 10. I have been trusted with the work of convening this panel discussion, and I want to say to all of you, welcome to Language Right, African Languages for Social and Economic Development panel discussion. Namgelengile nonke. But before we start, I just want to say, across our continent, language is not merely a medium of communication. It is a carrier of memory, epistemology, governance, and power. Most African states today constitutionally recognize multilingualism, which is a good thing. For an example, at home, Ekaya, South Africa, we formally recognize 11 and 12 when you add sign language, official languages. Kenya recognized Kiswahili and English as their official languages, while also recognizing other indigenous languages. Ethiopia structures its federal system around ethno-linguistic identity. Rwanda has undergone a significant shift in language of learning policy in pursuit of regional and global integration. However, yet across these contexts, a persistent question remains. Are language rights substantially realized, or they are primarily symbolic? In many cases, while multilingualism is constitutionally affirmed, state institutions like courts, universities, parliament, digital system operates predominantly in colonial language, and this creates layered inequalities. It affects who access justice. It shapes who participates confidently in classroom. It determines who thrive economically. It also influences whose knowledge is validated. Language rights are therefore not peripheral cultural concerns. They deeply tied to democratic participation, economic inclusion, and epistemic justice. As we engage in this panel, I invite us to consider 3 framing tensions that we're going to be speaking about. Recognition versus implementation. What exists in policy versus what is operationalized in practice. Number 2, identity versus mobility. The balance between linguistic heritage and global competitiveness. Number 3, the last one, unity versus diversity. This is the question whether continental integration requires linguistic consolidation or deeper multilingual commitment. As we're about to start our conversation today's conversation is not only about preservation, it is about structural transformation. It asks whether African languages can move from the margins of symbolic affirmation to the center of governance, education, commerce, and technology. I look forward to the insights of our panelists as we explore how language rights can be lived realities across our diverse African context. Our panelists have already been introduced, and this is how we are going to do this. We have 10 minutes each. I'll give a guiding question on what your insights and thoughts are on our language rights, and then we have 30 minutes discussion. I do have questions that are specific for each of you. You may be asked a question that was asked to someone else, and then we open it to the floor so that everyone is able to participate. We are all in this together, right? So my framing question, I will pass the mic through. My framing question on the language rights, I want to personalize it. Drawing from your experience, how has language shaped access to education? One. And what examples or highlights you can give us? And embedded on that, where gaps remains and what practical steps of innovation do you see as essential in advancing linguistic justice and making African languages functional across the society? One, how has language shaped access to education? And number two, what are practical steps or innovations do you see essential in advancing linguistic justice and making African languages function across society? We all know that there are gaps. So I'll start at the end. I think you have your mic. Dr. Kwesi, I'll start with you. And then we pass through until we get to Dr. Mbute. You have 10 minutes. Generous time.
Thank you, but please, can you take the question again?
All right.
Yeah.
The question is, drawing from your experience, how has language shaped access to education? You can give us examples. And also, the second one, where gaps remain, what practical steps or innovations do you see as essential to advancing linguistic justice and making African languages functional across society?
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. The first one, as to how language has shaped access to education, what I would say is that in the current dispensation, there are arguments about the fact that in knowledge societies, language should be seen as a commodity. And I think that this theory summarizes it all for us. If we live in education as a process, education as an activity is information-based, it's knowledge-based. And so if people do not have access to the language in which education is given, and as I said, education is information, is knowledge. So if people do not have access to the language in which education is supposed to be given, then it means that outrightly they are out of the equation. And that means that in societies, as is the case across the globe, where we are highly multilingual, and there are minorities in these societies. So these minorities, whose languages may not be the languages of education, are going to be at a disadvantage. Whereas those who belong to the languages that provide access to education will be at an advantage. And so for me, I think that language is a crucial issue. And the more access one has to the language in which education is provided, the better one is positioned to access education. And therefore, if we are looking at access to education, education is a central issue. If we are looking at access to education, language is a central issue. And more, we must look at how all the languages, especially those that are at the margins, the minority languages, can also be made part of the languages through which people can have access to education. So that's my response to the first, question. Now, the second question about how, I'm a bit, yes, so the second question about how innovation, right, can be used to improve linguistic human rights or justice. Yes, so the point is this. I will look at this from the current system of life where technology is taking over. And for example, you find that most of our communication, we have only a few fora like this one where people actually get to engage in oral-based, face-to-face communication. Other than that, even though we live in the physical space in the world out there, much of our transactions are in the virtual spaces. So for languages to receive the innovation that is required and to serve the linguistic justice to all manner of people, I think that every language in the world should begin to get positioned in such a way that they can play a role in the digital world. And what it means, for example, is also that we should be able to integrate the development of our languages, right, with the necessary technological resources so that people who speak these languages can begin to make use of them in the digital spaces. And once we do that, what it means is that we are positioning these languages to be able to take their place in education. Education is also becoming increasingly digitally based. And therefore, if you have languages which are not eligible in the digital spaces, then it means that sooner or later, those languages will fall out of those that are capable of serving as resources for the delivery of education. So developing our languages and positioning them to be able to serve as languages that can function in the digital age is a very important way of innovating so that such languages can serve those who speak them the linguistic justice that we expect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gracie. You speak about language as a commodity, which I agree with you, and I'm sure Dr. Mbute would as well. We're from South Africa together. And the more access you get to the language, the more access you get to education. And then in innovations, if we want to win, then let us position our languages as important because we all live in the digital space now, and therefore we need to compete as such. Thank you so much. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. I will say that language will not exist as a language if the usage and the coverage of the usage is not recognized. Language exists to play at least, I may say, 4 roles: to construct knowledge, to retain knowledge, to disseminate knowledge, and also to negotiate knowledge. And when we come to education, education is there to make sure that a purpose is achieved. So we use language to convey what education is expected to achieve. Without the language, the intentions of education cannot be achieved. But here lies the case. We have our dialects, we have our languages which cut across different colonial boundaries. To be well educated means you are conscious of your culture, which can only be given to you through the language. Now that in modern day Africa, let me say, and Ghana to be specific, our education is based on a foreign language. Bringing a quality education to an individual can only be achieved if we embrace our mother language. In that regard, the faithfulness of education to an individual will not be achieved if the language of the transmission of that knowledge or the expected need that a society expects or an individual expects to acquire is given to him or her in an alien language, alien in quotes. In that regard, I think if we bring our Ghanaian languages, our African languages to the core in educating an individual, we will have a quality transformation. Let me also add that when we are asking or we are talking about language in education, we need to realize that though language exists as a communication tool, it does not exist only for communication. When we have a topic to treat, when we have an idea to integrate an individual, the way language will be used to emphasize the retention, that is what many of us are missing. Language usage. We have the language, but how to use the language for a content to be integrated, for a process to be initiated, is what many of us miss. Now we come to the innovation. What do we mean by the innovation? Innovation will only exist if we have a target to achieve. And to achieve a target, innovation is there to bring us the simplest way of bringing that target to a reality. As my friend has said, we, the linguists, have been making many, let me say, I'll use the hard word, genocide, to the language, that when a new item comes to the system, let's say this bottled water, the producer has a name for it. This device, the producer has a name for it. If this comes to my language for the first time, give me the room to use it, and based on its function, I will generate a name for it. That practice is an innovation which will even add to the register of the language and also add to the vocabulary of the language. If devices are brought, the content of the devices, if they are familiar to us, we will not have any problem with innovation. Everybody will be innovative if the language if the language of education is familiar to you, and then you can use that language to create, to invent a lot of things, so that where somebody has started from or where somebody has ended, another person can continue from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And from what you said, you are a pro of a language use and how we use languages. Like, we need to embrace our languages and make them important. And also for us to be innovative, I think we need time. We also thrive in using things for us to be able to give them names when they come. So its functionalities and content will tell us what this is. And our African languages are always known to be descriptive. I think you've just summarized that well. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. About how digital languages shape access to education. I think we have to start the discussion, contextualize the discussion within the multilingual realities of Ghana. Conservatively, we have over 70 Ghanaian languages and operating alongside English, which is our official language. And generally, English is the language of instruction in most schools. Even if we look at the Ghanaian languages, we can group them into two. We have the major Ghanaian languages, and then we have the minor Ghanaian languages. So when we are talking language rights and access to education, the Ghanaian languages that are major Ghanaian languages are prominently used in education. But that benefits only the native speakers of those Ghanaian languages. Look at a country of over 70 languages, and only 10 of those languages, that is, we put Asante Twi and Equiapin Twi are separately used together as one. Those 10 are the ones that we use in education. Children go to school, and some of them leave school early, drop out of school early because of frustrations coming from the language of education, where some children are made fun of for not speaking good English. And when we talk about access to education, we must not limit it to just access. We must also talk about performance. How does the use of language that is foreign to a child enhance his academic performance? So the child is in school, but the child is frustrated just because the language that is used, even where the language in education policy of Ghana is implemented, majority of the time, the Ghanaian language is being used, but that is still a foreign language. If you go to my region, the Volta region, for example, Ewe is the major language of the region. And by implementing the language in education policy, we use Ewe in the classroom. But aside from Ewe, there are over 14 indigenous languages that are minority languages that are also found in the Volta region. And all the children from these minority language areas go to school and they are taught in Ewe, which is not the language they speak from home. So you can see that those children, whether they will do well, if we all understand the role of language in education and academic performance, we will know what frustrations and challenges those children face right here, even when we are implementing the language in education policy. So I will dovetail that to the second question, where you are talking about what steps can be taken to enhance the linguistic rights of our people. To be frank, we need to take a second look at the policy of language in education in Ghana. We have to look at the policy within the context of the numerous Ghanaian languages that we have, both the major languages and the minority languages, and see how we can encourage multilingual education rather than, and in fact, even though what we are practicing already may be called a multilingual education, but the transitional multilingual education is not helping us realize the benefits of education, and is actually minimizing the rights of the Ghanaian children who are in school. So we have to encourage multilingual education that prioritizes translanguaging, where multiple languages are used simultaneously within the classroom. So the child which is in school and is not an indigene of Ewe, but is from community where Ewe is a majority language must also be allowed to use his language, for example, Ikwana or Sia or Sekbele classroom. If we want to achieve that, we have to look at the training of teachers and posting of teachers. The way we go about posting of teachers currently is very bad, even when we try to be implementing the policy that we have. We train teachers without consideration to their language background. So you have an Akan speaking teacher posted to the north to teach children who do not speak Twi. The teacher is frustrated, the child is frustrated. Basically, when that happens, the right of the child to be educated in his language is violated right there. And I think we need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. That was quite a lot. But I think what I got from that is how complex it is for our African languages as well. You can imagine if it's 70 languages and only 10 are official. And I hear you speak about frustration around children not being able to finish school because they feel that they're not given a chance. They closed at the door at the beginning. And you advocate for intentional multilingualism that is coupled with translanguaging, where a child can be able to express themselves and learn in the language that they understand. Without wasting time, over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. So for me, I would like to start with the very famous saying of Nelson Mandela, where he says that when you speak to someone in a language he hears, you speak to the mind. But when you speak to the person in his or her own language, you speak to the heart. So basically, language is not just what we say, it's an embodiment of the totality of the individual. And that is very crucial. Now, when you come to access to education using language, if you go to our rural communities where I started teaching some years back, you realize that we had this system what we call School for Life, where children were engaged in literacy in their languages before they transitioned into the mainstream education. And the performance of those kids was exceptional compared to those who were taught practically in English and moving straight into the classroom. And there is a lot of research that has shown that using the child's native language to teach the child has a direct impact on the child's learning. Can we ask ourselves, we come to Ghana, I'm sure most of the African countries, a child who is 8, 9, 10 years is able to carry tomatoes, okra, pepper, and go out to sell. And the child sells, you give the child money, and the child is able to give you change. And this same child is performing poorly in mathematics. And the reason is that the child is being taught addition, subtraction, or whatever in a language he or she finds it very difficult. You come to admissions and accessibility. In our college, people apply to come and do, let's say, Eve, Twi, or Fanti, and the person failed English language, but passed the Ghanaian language, and that child is not qualified for admission because he or she cannot. And then we also find that children write WASI or junior high. They pass all the subjects and fail English, but then they use English to pass all the other subjects. So what is actually happening? We have something to do. Now, when it comes to the functionality, I think we need to ask ourselves, what are the domains of use of our Ghanaian languages? In Ghana, in parliament, in the hospital, in whatever. How much do we have these Ghanaian languages being used? And it begins with us, the linguists. And I think South Africa has done a lot. I think Tanzania, in terms of developing terminologies. We don't have terminologies, and this has to be a conscious effort by government. So if I'm going to teach mathematics in my language, what is addition? What is subtraction? What is a square? What's a triangle? What's photosynthesis? If we don't do this, then we give a lot of burden to the teacher who is trying to educate the child in his language but ends up miseducating the child because both of them will be struggling, and at the end of the day, we do not have enough. So for me, we need to develop terminology, standardize them, and get it accepted in the system. Because at the moment, we have Ghanaian language textbooks, so 3. And you go to the class, 2 teachers teaching P3, one is teaching P3, P3B, and probably they are using 2 different textbooks. So one teacher tells the child in P3A that a noun is blah, blah, blah in the same language. In the other class, the same noun is given a different terminology because we do not have the standard. And that is very crucial if we want to ensure that there is parity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That was a mouthful. And you speak about the functionality of our languages. And I can't imagine a class where a teacher and a child are struggling to hear each other, but they are there to teach each other and learn. And you speak about a conscious effort that needs to be done in standardizing the languages so that it's universal. If you are in the same school, you are in the same grade. When you go to another place, you speak the same language in terms of what you have been taught. And we can, of course, not live beyond the fact that we embody languages and languages are part of our lives. And Dr. Rebecca?
Thank you. I would like to look at it from the other side, where we are looking at language being a key to education. But has language also been a barrier to education in our African context? Yeah, from what my colleagues have said, some children have dropped out of school because of language being a barrier to education for them. In the multilingual context, like Ghana here, what we normally face is that most of us think that your ability to become proficient in the English language makes you an elite in the society. So now what is happening is that most parents are trying as much as possible to let their children learn the English language at home from the beginning. But the question is, are they learning the right thing? Are they teaching them because some parents don't even know, are not proficient in the language, but they are forcing it on their children. So they come to school with the mindset that, yes, my child is good in the English language. They come and it's a different ball game altogether. One thing that I've realized is that when I've had an experience where a parent had to hit the child because the child spoke a Ghanaian language. When a driver asked for a fare and then the child responded in the Ghanaian language, the father hit him. That's why are you speaking Ghanaian language? Why not English? So in our context, is the English language giving us access to education? If yes, how much of it? How literate are the children that we are training in the schools that will help them gain access to further education? Now, my colleague here, Mr. Podo, spoke about where a lot of the children in the Volta region are already using the L1. But the L1 that they are using is not the same L1 that when they go to school they are supposed to use. So where is the gap? And what are we doing as a country? We have many Ghanaian languages. So is it possible that we can look at a situation where we can use one of the Ghanaian languages as a national language? And that will help us use that alongside the L2. Because when the child gets to Basic 3 and the child is transitioning to Basic 4, It's expected that the child should be able to use the English language, should be proficient in the English language, be able to read and write. Is that the case? Now, when that is not seen, what happens? And that is why the child becomes frustrated and drop out of school. And therefore, accessibility is what? Halted. So what are we doing as a country so that that problem will be resolved, where the English language will not be seen as mandatory, whether the child can speak it or not? Then once the child is in basic 4, that child should or must speak it. And if the child is not able to speak it, the child is not part of, the child is seen as an alien in the classroom. We've had situations where we went on a monitoring in the northern part of the country, and then some children, when you ask, you go to a class, a lot of empty seats. You ask and it's like, oh, some of them have not been coming to school. Why? You go into it and you see that it is what? The problem of what? Language. They are in class 4, they are in class 5. The English language is used and these children don't understand. So they see themselves as not belonging to the environment that they find themselves. So the best thing is to what? Stay away. So in this case, is the language being used to help learners have access to education, especially the English language, or rather prevent them have access to education? That is where the problem is. So what can we do as a country? If we want language to promote or help our learners have access to education or help our children have access to education, then something needs to be done. As a country faced with so many Ghanaian languages, which of them would we accept so that the children will be able to fit and have access to quality education, apart from using the what? The L2, which is the English language, so that it wouldn't be like something like an imposition. Because some of the teachers who are trained to go and teach, some of them are not even proficient in a way. So we are faced with a lot of challenges. The teacher themselves, that's the teachers, the children, all of them are stakeholders in education. So what happens? How can we help as a country so that the teachers would also feel free? I know that some teachers are comfortable when it comes to using the Ghanaian language to teach. That one is a fact. But the problem is they are not supposed to do that, especially when they are teaching at the upper primary. So they are forced to. And that is where the problem comes in. So what can we do? I think the ball is in our court. As educators, as stakeholders of education, we have to go into it. And the situation where we look down upon our Ghanaian languages is also something that is not promoting a lot of us accepting our Ghanaian languages as, or any of our Ghanaian languages as a language of instruction in our schools. I remember some of my mates that we completed university with who did Ghanaian languages from the north, the Volta, they completed and didn't want to go back to the north, to the Volta region. They wanted to stay in the southern sector here. And if they are staying here, and then they are posted to the basic schools, and they are supposed to use the L1 for the language in education policy, how would they be able to do that? It means that policy will face a lot of what? Challenges. So what are we doing as a country? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca. I think the question is, what are we doing as a country to make sure that language is for belonging and not alienation? said a lot of things, teacher training, the upbringing, the language that children bring to school. That is not the language of the school. And then we have the language ideology that high proficiency in English is associated with being elite, but I think we are moving to somewhere. And lastly, Masize Go Dr. Mbude.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to latch to what colleagues have already outlined about how language access shapes education. One of the most important understandings that Africa has missed over these years is the issue of mother tongue and why scientifically it is one of the areas that we haven't understood, that there is a direct biological reason why the mother tongue shapes education, and the reason is that around the 7th month of pregnancy, when women are pregnant, something happens that is profound in young children, in the fetus, as a fetus in the womb. It is called fetal programming. This is when the sounds, the child, the fetus, the unborn baby can hear all other sounds and can distinguish that this is a car, this is music, these are people speaking, but there is one voice, one sound that the fetus can distinguish at that time. It is the voice of the mother. And that is why it is not called father tongue, it is called mother tongue. Because of everything, the input through the umbilical cord. Now, anyone who does science will tell you how sounds travel faster in water. Now, the first sound that babies experience is the water in the uterus of the mother. So wave attenuation happens during that time. Now, the fetal programming that happens during that time is that all other sounds that a fetus is here are muffled sounds. The only sound that is clear is the voice of the mother. So the development of language does not wait until children are born. There's something that we call a language reservoir that begins around, particularly around the 7th month, when the child can hear distinctively the voice and the sound of the mother. And that's why babies biologically start kicking around that time. The voice of the mother calms the baby. And when children are born, that's why the first interaction that is done in hospitals is to put the baby on top of the mother, because that's the first time that they begin to link that sound that they've been hearing throughout the pregnancy. So when we change children in schooling to adapt to another language, we are reprogramming the child. And that reprogramming is very dangerous if it happens at the expense of what the child already knows. So when we speak about mother tongue education, and this is what Europe understands, and it is intentional to keep Africa Anglophone and Africa Francophone, because it is the language market that benefits from this intentionality. Now, if you reprogram a child, it takes double that time. You might be teaching, but learning does not happen. And there's a difference between teaching and learning. So we spend so much time in Africa talking about why we should or why we shouldn't, and investor flight and all these things. We don't understand that the language industry in Europe is sitting at about 44% of the market. Now, in terms of the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, we know that Europe leads in that market. Now, if the European market is sitting at about 36% right now, and in terms of the language industry growth in Europe, they are sitting at $36 billion, and Africa is sitting at only 6. Now, it's an untapped market. And as long as we are going to be sitting and discussing whether we should, whether we shouldn't, We are wasting the amount of time that can be used to leverage on African languages. At this time, you asked questions about practical steps. With the introduction of mother tongue-based bilingual education in South Africa, starting in earnest in 2025 with grade 4, extending from the foundation phase, we are no longer fighting about whether we should or we shouldn't. There will always be people in Africa. Remember, it's more than 300 years of being told that you need English in education or you need French. So those people are going to be around until, we go to the next world, because we've been discussing this for hundreds of years. What we must fight about now, number one, is standardization. There is no way that we are going to be able to win this battle without standardizing. But what we fight about also now is the efficiency of our languages in articulating mathematical and scientific concepts. We must fight about the fact that fraction is a piece and not a part of. Because iqhezu in isiXhosa or isiZulu, we now understand that what we've always called fractions, when it comes to upper grades, like we are doing now in South Africa, we realize that actually the scientific correctness is part of and not necessarily piece of. Because piece of might be an arbitrary size or part that might not actually mean that fraction is a part of, an equal part of a bigger part. So we are fighting about science, and we are fighting about mathematizing in African languages, and not necessarily whether we should or we shouldn't, because that actually is what keeps Africa feeding and growing that market where English depends on African languages and African language speakers to make sure that their market remains big in English, and the same thing with Francophone African countries. So we must always link what happens in education with what happens in the market. And the fact that we have not dealt with what it means for us to remain English and French, we just have to go outside and look at the state of Africa and realize that actually we've kept those two markets huge. Now, how do we reduce those markets? Is to invest more in what will make our children not only thrive in school, but them being able to function in a market where African languages play a very critical role in developing its own people. Thank you.
Goskakhulu, Dr. Mbute, thank you so much. I'm always fascinated in listening to you speaking about fetal programming and language nutrition. And Dr. Mbute reminded us that they get programmed in the womb and we decide to reprogram them. And we spend a lot of years trying to reprogram and also advocating for leveraging our African languages so that they make it to, we reduce the market where English is seen to be the necessity. I am aware that we are running a little bit behind, but I do have two questions. So I am going to ask these questions like this. Since you have the mic, Dr. Mbute, I want you to ask a question of continental strategy and national sovereignty. To you, Dr. Mbute, should Africa adopt a coordinated continental strategy for linguistic economic empowerment, or should language policies remain primarily in nations?
The answer is yes. We should have a continent-wide strategy because the implementation lags. There are countries that never adopt AU resolutions, particularly around, African languages. Now, the economics of Africa are lagging behind because we do not have a continental plan that is funded, one, and two, we do not be each other's keepers in terms of how much is each country on the continent implementing what is rightfully belonging to children, as their languages are resources for their development. So we should be doing that. And thirdly, national language policies are important. Now we need a continent-wide strategy without taking away sovereignty and national mandates, because nationally we still have to start with charity beginning at home, where you are not only committed to a continent-wide strategy, but you do it at home. Because African government must ring-fence those funds that are going to be responsible and going to be invested in standardization, in digitization, in AI in African languages, in teacher training, in materials development. So you still need that national strategy that is going to drive, and governments, by the way, we can't just depend on NGOs to do all this work around African languages. It's been one of the weaknesses. And if we are not going to keep each other accountable as African brothers and sisters around the agenda of African languages, we then are going to be wasting each other's time, where one country is far ahead of others. We need to be dragging even those countries that are sold the story and the commodity of the colonial languages. So we do still need to hold each other accountable by a continent-wide strategy.
Nkosi kakhulu, Dr. Mbute. Latching on that, now we speak around language rights and economic mobility. What would it mean to build industries that operate primarily in African languages? Anyone can take that question on the panel. All right. The question is, what would it mean to build industries that operate primarily in African languages?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the day we will have institutions and industries that operate primarily around our languages will be the day all our dreams, our African dreams, would have been realized. Because most of the challenges we face are language-based. Even when we talk about economic mobility, for majority of us think that you need to learn English and be proficient in English in order to get a good job. So parents are always worried. When in my place, they will ask you, what do you want to study AV for? What would AV do for you? So we are not only talking about English, being proficient in English will make you automatically intelligent. That we are concerned about the future of the child. If you don't speak good English, who would hire you? We have, just last week, our youth were on X, laughing at one of our members of parliament for not speaking good English. So they were mocking at him. So you can see that it's even our youth who are the future of Africa have also been corrupted with the idea that the only way you can have a good future is when you can speak good English. So if we have that day where we have industry, we have commerce, we have participation in economic activities limited to our indigenous languages, will be the day we would have arrived at the point we always want to be. But you were talking about whether we need an African strategy as far as language is concerned. The talk about having an African language, a cross-border language, for example, where whether you are from West Africa or East or North, you can speak one language and understand one another, and then also work on your national languages. Those talks have been going on, but there is always a division. There are people who are for, and there are people who are against. And sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, which one is more important? because you have domestic problems. The problems that Kwame Nkrumah had in terms of one Africa is basically like this problem, where Ghanaians at home feel he was doing too much trying to unite the whole of Africa and leaving the problems that we face at home. So our linguistic diversity is a problem. Even when it's supposed to be a blessing to us, it's a problem already, it's a challenge. How do we solve that challenge? Do we solve that challenge before we go to the roundtable discussion that we have to make Kiswahili an African language, whether children should study in university or in secondary school? Which one do we deal with first? But I agree that they will industry operating around our indigenous languages will be the day we would have arrived there. Thank you.
Ngozi Kakhulu, thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Kwesi. I also have one more question for you.
Okay.
When you're done.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Yes, so to think of having industries or an industry that operates using an African language is for me, would be one of the ways to push back against the dominance of the African continent by foreign former colonial languages. But to be able to succeed will require some good strategy. It means that we have to start from somewhere. If you, in our situation in Africa, want to run industry that operates in an African language, that kind of industry must be one that is supranational in nature. It should be supranational, and it should be an industry that operates in an area that commands a lot of interest towards Africa. Otherwise, there's always the global competition. And if you start something and the other side of the world, they get your intentions. They know that this is a pushback against their linguistic influence on the continent. They can find a way to dismantle what you are building. So I think that Africa think of something like that, but it requires a good strategy, and a good strategy should be something that is that kind of industry should be an industry that is supranational for Africa, and it should be an industry that focuses on an area of trade, or it should be an industry that focuses on an area of economic interest that commands a lot of interest towards Africa. And once you have that, and you say that this is a language, then that can compel the other parts of the world to take interest in that African language. So I think that this is something we should do. It's long overdue that Africa has not started doing some of these things that will compel the other people from other parts of the world to take interest in African languages. And of course, it doesn't just start by us saying we want to do it. We must also give ourselves the kind of orientation that is necessary. Let our citizens understand that our languages also matter. Our languages are also valuable. And once we give ourselves that orientation and we have the support of the common people, and you have such an industry operating, our people will not again continue as we have always done and say, okay, because this company operates in an African language, it's likely that what they produce is inferior, right? We look down on anything that has association with Africa. So let's first of all give our citizens the right orientation. Let them know the values behind, such a project. And once they support it, and once this is an industry or an area that is focused or specializes in an area that commands a lot of economic interest towards Africa, I think that it will be a viable venture to undertake. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. I see Doctor has something to say.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
Yes, very brief. Just to add to what Prof has said, I think it begins with our mindset. Because in Ghana here, we've had someone, Safo Kantanka, who has so much invested in technology and built machines. In fact, he has cars, pickups. He produced gadgets that you speak the Ghanaian language and then it responds, like AI. He has pickups, he has articulated trucks, he has. But the point is that when we are doing that, Ghanaian will prefer to go and buy a home-used American car than to buy Safo Kantanka's pickup. Right. And while he's doing that, he's not even getting government support. Government has gone to bring Chinese companies to come and assemble cars in Ghana here. So I think we have this imperialist idea that everything foreign is good and then everything here is bad. And basically what we need to do, I think, is to encourage what I called additive bilingualism instead of the subtractive one. Right? We subtract, we take away the Ghanaian language and promote the English. We are not saying English should not be taught, but we should do an additive bilingualism where we add the other African languages alongside English. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone who wants to add? But let me do this. I do have a question, so you can add whatever you're going to say to this question. Anyone can take this one. We speak about digital justice and AI and the development of our African languages. I now want to ask, how much invested is Africa in corpus development and African languages data that is being produced by AI? How much investment do we have as Africa in the corpus development and the African languages data that is available? If we do, if we don't, how can we?
Okay. Thank you. I'll add something to the first question. Then I will attempt to respond to the second one. The first one is when we talked about an industry that could market Africa better. I will take our university as an example, University of Education, which is training many students in our local languages. When we take our Ghanaian nation as a place, many languages spoken in Ghana are spoken in our sister countries too, in our neighboring countries too. If I take my language away, for example, from Burkina Faso to Nigeria, from La Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, stretched down to Nigeria, at least these 5 countries, you will see it spoken. There is a company, an establishment where this should be used for any transaction from La Côte d'Ivoire to Ghana, Togo, Benin to Nigeria. We will have a very good market. And I think some language in northern part of Ghana to Burkina Faso and part of Niger, that too can carry and if you take account, I think part of La Côte d'Ivoire also speaks that language. Gradually, those languages to have a neighboring country speaking a common language with them. A language can have a regional sweep regarding the marketability. And since we interact with each other, we will unconsciously learn. If I go to Togo, you'll be surprised that I can't dominate in that place. Meanwhile, it's never an I can learn. That means because of the marketability of a good, everybody is craving to speak that language, so it can be done. Now, regarding whether Africa is ready to invest in the digital age, I started working with Google in 2010, and we realized that we have the will and the zeal, but commitment. Africa can do anything digital if we are committed to it. We have a higher sense of technological mind that we can, but the willpower is not there. Apart from the will, corruption. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. One more panelist, maybe we can give to Dr. Rebecca.
Okay.
And then briefly, Prof. Kwesi again.
Thank you. I think our problem is also with being so conservative. We don't want to change. Whenever a new thing is coming our way, we make sure we fight against it. So this AI, I've heard a lot of even intellectuals or those in academics complaining. When we AI, won't we be jobless? Won't AI take over our jobs? And what will happen instead of taking advantage and then studying what it entails, and so that we also bring in maybe a language into the AI so that we can use it to do so many things to our benefit. We are rather fighting it. Even a situation where some lecturers think that if a student should use AI to generate some information and then add his voice, then that student is not good. You should use your own, somebody will say, your knowledge to do things. So if we are able to embrace it and then look at how have they managed to gone this far. AI has been with us since time immemorial, since the introduction of computer. That is when AI started. But we are making it look like a new thing that is coming. It is not new. So what are we doing so that we also take advantage? How do we manage to also push our way through so that the whites, I'm using whites to describe those European countries and other countries, also embrace the fact that we also have something to offer. Surprisingly, when we travel outside for further studies, they see us to be good, very good, brilliant and all that. But when we are here, we look down upon ourselves because we always want to fight any new thing that is coming our way. So we're able to look into the AI and see how we can also use it to our benefit by maybe using the AI, programming it with our language so that we can use it to do things to benefit us. I think we will find our way in their space. Then with the other issue that you try to, I want to, the first one was what? Yes. We always use the phrase, the world is global. It is now a global village. Now, if you establish a business, then you are supposed to get people, not only Africans. We have to go beyond Africa. Now, I remember some years back, Japan was using only Japanese language, whether in industry, school, everything. But it got to a point that they saw that no, if we should not hook on, if we don't hook on to the English language, then we'll be limited when it comes to industrialization. But I think we can start it from somewhere where our governance system will rather promote that ideology. If our government sees depending so much on the foreign aid, everything foreign, they run to them. Once you run to them, they also have their own terms that they will give to you. If we can be in, and then we'll look at how we do our things, then I think it will work if we want to establish our own industries and then hook on to maybe our local languages are L1 as a form of using that to promote products. I think it will help, but we have to be firm, because when it comes to African countries, most of our leaders are corrupt, and that is what is making us not to be independent and always running to the Western world for assistance. So if we can take it from there, from our governance system, I think something good can be done about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Prof. Kwesi, I would like to apologize to my panelists. I've been informed that we are over time, and what we can do is to finish these conversations during lunch. To my audience, I really sincerely apologize to you in the house and also our audiences in the online. What you can do, please leave your question, your comment online, so that we can be able to later on respond to you. And with that, there is never enough time for our African matters, Singama Africa, and Ingoko or conversations are our thing. That's where we express ourselves. That's why we are the best storytellers. And I'd like to thank my panel. Thank you so much for the insights. And I'd like to thank the audience with me here and the audience online. Uma Khatebe is signing out. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you all. Please let us keep on clapping for them. They've done a really good job. We've learned so much. That's okay, Doctor. Yes. We've learned so much. Personally, I have. And I have a lot of questions that I do believe I will get time to ask them. Yes. I am especially interested in learning about fetal reprogramming, and I was very happy to know why it's mother tongue, not father tongue, or uncle tongue. I'm very happy about that, and I have some questions. I also do have some questions to Dr. Podo. I hope we'll get time for it. Again, apologies. As the previous speaker said, the moderator, we are running out of time, and we would like to, keep it up well. So we're now moving into, if you look at your programs, you will see that we have a joint announcement coming up for a new collaboration that involves African languages conferences and partners connected to Stanford University. Now, the best people to speak about this are the ones working directly on it. So I will hand over, I will hand this over to Adi Namaran, who you have already met and has been introduced. And of course, Audrey Gao of Silicon at Stanford University. Please let us welcome them. I wish I could introduce Audrey as I did for other speakers. But I don't know much about Audrey, only the fact that you share a name with my daughter. Yes, so please, I will let you introduce yourself. Karibu sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my name is Adina Maran Coulibaly, a director for the African Languages Conference. I'll give the floor to Audrey to introduce herself also.
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey and I am the project coordinator for Silicon. We're a project based out of Stanford University that works on digital inclusion for a lot of the world's languages that lack digital support. We work with a lot of students at Stanford, technologists in Silicon Valley and other international collaborators. Thank you so much for having me and it's so nice to be here and to get to meet more of you today.
All right, so together with Avishta Series, the co-founder and director of AFLC and myself, we are here to share a meaningful initiative which we believe will help shape the digital future of African languages. So the African Languages Conference and Silicon, represented here by Audrey, We are expanding the Common Local Data Repository, CLDR, for African languages, making it possible for millions of people to see their languages in everyday digital tools, from date formats to currency displays to keyboard. So what is the problem that we are trying to solve with this particular initiative? Over 2,000 African languages remain digitally disadvantaged, absent from operating systems, from software applications, from AI training and data. We're talking about AI just a few minutes ago. So without having local or data in CLDR, it makes it difficult for African language speakers to use their mother tongue in digital tools. And in that way, we are not also able to shape several factors or several spaces such as education, commerce, civic participation. And so we feel that this is not just about representation, it's about ensuring economic access, educational equity, and ensuring that African languages are also present in the AI conversation that we're having.
Yeah, so like Adi said, today at the African Language Conference, there's been a lot of talk about language education, AI development, economic access, and more. CLDR, I know that's an acronym that seems foreign, but what it is essentially the database for all the world's languages that feeds into software systems so that languages can be used appropriately as they may be spoken. CLDR is the technical foundation that tells computers how to display dates, numbers, currencies. When a language has CLDR support, you can use it in examples like Microsoft Office, Google services, mobile keyboards, ordering food, telehealth services, emergency alerts, and countless other applications. Previous efforts brought 54 African locales into CLDR, and this partnership aims to accelerate that work for hundreds more languages, but specifically with even more community partnership. AFLC brings deep community connections, language advocacy networks, and other on-the-ground network. That other on-the-ground collaborations. Silicon contributes technical expertise with Unicode standard CLDR, data architecture, font and keyboard designs, and a direct partnership with Unicode. And what we're doing here is that we're creating a community-driven pipeline. Language communities identify technical priorities, and then technical teams will build the infrastructure, and languages gain digital presence. This includes a $100,000 US dollar commitment in direct and in-kind support for locale data collection, technical implementation, capacity building, and community coordination. And so what this means is that we're recruiting language teams who want to do this kind of work. The commitment comes with the expectation that money will go directly into the pockets of community members doing this kind of work, and we have a couple incubators that will have free slots for people who participate in this program, where you can learn more about font design, UX, UI design, keyboard design. So some of what was spoken about earlier today regarding AI development and language technology, this is the baseline for those kind of technologies. It's kind of the building blocks, the foundations for those. So if you want to chat more about this initiative, feel free to grab me and ask a couple questions. You can also email me if you're online at amgao, so AMGAO @stanford.edu, and I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, Audrey, thank you so much for talking about the impact and what we're trying to do together. So I'm going to continue with talking about, Audrey spoke about why it matters, rather. I'm going to continue with the concrete outcomes and impact. So we're working towards target languages appearing in operating systems, such as Windows, for instance. We're also looking at productivity software, web browsers, with culturally accurate formatting. Digital text and local data enable African languages to be included in language technologies, translation tools, voice assistants, creating that foundation for AI equity. So when languages work in digital commerce tools, entire communities can participate in online communities using their mother tongues, and we believe that this will drive economic empowerment. Students and educators can access learning materials and educational tools in the languages they think and learn in, and this will transform educational possibilities as well. In terms of the approach, so we are looking at a purely community-centered approach, and we believe that this would work if we are involving the communities working on these initiatives themselves. And so they know the languages, they know what the languages need, the tools that are required for these languages, how we can represent these languages, and we believe that this would make a difference. So we are bringing together AFLC and Silicon. We're bringing together elders, cultural custodians, educators, technologists, language professionals to make decisions